Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC and the penultimate round of the 2022 Formula Sprint 1 Championship. Today we are at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City for the highest altitude race of the season, and one with high expectations as well, one that could be a championship wrapping up event for Tom Stevens. I'm joined for the very first time actually by Stephen Lexow, famous for victories in the FS2 Championship and just being a pretty darn quick driver. Stephen, what does it take to be quick around here specifically?
Well, it's very important to be very good under braking here actually. So in the FS2 car it was very important to brake, and I felt that when I was testing with the FS2 car as well. So finding the limit between low wings, high wings, between the fast sector one and the middle sector is going to be quite important.
Indeed it is, and it's one that setup is going to play really hard into, because I feel like the ideal setup here is actually different for the race and for qualifying. In qualifying, you want something that is going to be quicker through the corners, because there are some quite high speed, quite heavy cornering sectors here where you want to have high downforce realistically, but the straights are just so long that you really struggle in the straights, especially in wheel-to-wheel combat if you had a high downforce setup. So a lot of these drivers have gone for low downforce setups specifically for the straights. I mean, one of the setups that I was given the other day had 0-0 wing angle on the front and the rear, which was quite intense, and I ended up upping that a tiny bit for qualifying. But of course that might be different for the FS1 cars. In real life, of course, you get very high levels of downforce at the circuit because the air pressure is so low, so the teams raise the angle of the wings on the front and rear, although FX2 does not simulate that loss of air pressure. And as a result, the drivers have to treat this just like any other race circuit. Across the line for a lap go the first few drivers. Tom Stevens currently at the top of the times, but by less than a tenth of a second from his main championship rival, Owen McGorgy. McGorgy's second, and now Lucchini goes second. So Mirko Lucchini splitting the two top drivers there in the Alpha Delta, Stephen.
Yeah, I have to say, pretty fast anchor laps. I didn't expect them to be in the 20.1s that easily. So I guess we can expect some 19s later on in qualifying when the grip improves. But so far so good, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I'd say almost definitely. Just wait for the track to rubber in. Now we'll talk about the championship permutations later with Stevens versus McGorgy. Jake Dennehan is technically also in contention as well, but like I said, we will talk about that in a little bit of time, especially since I don't see... so unfortunately Jake Dennehan is not here today, and actually neither is his teammate Darius Andre. They've been replaced for the day by Paul August Lana and Ruben Machedi, a completely new lineup for TCS Off Racing. Here we're watching Philip Koenig in the Build Sim car, a driver who tends to come to the front in race 2 due to his superior racecraft in terms of his qualifying performances. We've seen him take a few surprise podiums in FS2 over the years from taking advantage of race 2s, and around the final corner he comes on this particular qualifying lap. He's going to be in the 121, so stays 15th for the time being, as we have 10.5 minutes left in this 15-minute qualifying session. I'm going to get up the live timing now, but I'm definitely watching Tom Stevens for the pole here today. He was the fastest in practice. He was in the 120.2s, and he's already beaten that. So can he get into the 119s, or will someone else beat him to it potentially?
Well, I think that Owen McGorgy should be able to do 19s as well. At least that's what I've heard from practice, so those two are going to be in the 119s for sure. Lucchini is quite surprising for me. So with a 1 minute 20.1 banker, that's very possible as well. So yeah, those are the three candidates for now.
Indeed, and and the times will continue to tumble as the track warms up, or rubbers in rather, as the drivers warm up. The timer ticking down isn't quite as frustrating as it would be in real life. Sometimes the track gets more and more jam-packed with cars, but of course in our Factor 2, in GPVWC in particular, we have single-person qualifying, meaning that you don't see any of the other traffic out on the track, and it doesn't affect your lap times whatsoever. So it doesn't really matter about finding clean space or anything like that. Ruben Machete now goes up to P5 in the GT Soft Racing Car, and even though he's a substitute, definitely keep your eye out from him. He's had a few supreme substitute performances so far this year, Monaco in particular, where he was one of the only drivers who could make overtaking manoeuvres, and a very fast driver in FS2, one of your main rivals over there, Stephen. Now we've got Owen McGorgy slightly down on his lap in the first sector, running a little wide through the hairpin. Now you see the S's. This is where high downforce would come into play if you were to select a high downforce setup. It's through that sector that the car just wants to understeer horribly, and it's so easy to run out over those curbs. And those curbs are nasty. They just grab the car and rail slide it wide. Then we go into a much tighter and slower arena section. This is all about mechanical grip through here. So your suspension, big twitch on the rear, and then through the final corner, which opens up, and he dives into the pit lane to set up for another run, Stephen.
Yeah, I can see some setup differences between some guys. I can see that Lucchini, for example, is running more downforce. Mino Clont is running quite a lot of downforce, had the fastest middle sector at some point, so the top guys seem to be quite equal in terms of top speed. So that's going to be interesting, as Moritz Kropp now goes to 4th place. So 4 guys within 1/10 of a second. And yeah, as you were talking about Ruben Machete, I think he's going to be quite strong in race 2 actually.
Oh, and look at that! To the pole goes Mirko Lucchini provisionally, but still by less than 1/10 of a second. We are still in the 120s. Here comes Frank Hamming, bit of a twitch that may have spoilt his final sector there. Across the line he goes 5th. You can see he lost a couple of tenths in the 3rd sector. I feel like he could have really challenged for provisional pole on that one. Loic Meunier, 13th, better than the pole time. The provisional pole time in sector 1 at least. You're going to be seeing that a decent amount because of the different sectors, the different setups that the drivers have. They're going to be getting ultra close to the lead times in some sectors, and then miles off in others. It's really, each sector is not really going to show to represent the lap as a whole. You have to take them one by one. Here comes Philip Koenig. I do like actually how this track is set up into 3 individual sectors that all have their own identities. You have the first one with the long straights and the heavy braking zones. The second one is where you find the S's and the high downforce style areas, and then the 3rd sector is the arena, and then back out to the finish line. And all 3 of those things require different things, both from a driver and a car. Loic Meunier, pretty quick 1st sector, not so quick in the 2nd sector. He might challenge for a top 10 on this lap. He's not going to be challenging for pole necessarily, as we're into the last 6 minutes of the session now. And he's into the pits. That wasn't a true purple sector. It was only faster than the leader, but not faster than the best overall. However, that is a true purple there for Owen McGorgy, and by quite a way too. Look at that. Does that say plus? That's got to say minus 4/10, hasn't it? That's a huge 1st sector from Owen McGorgy. 4/10 quicker than Mirko Lucchini's lap. Tom Stevens is on a flyer as well right now. McGorgy slightly slower in the 2nd sector, but still, ooh, a little bit of a twitch into the final sector. I still think this might, oh, and he spins. Well, that would have been on for a 119. Tom Stevens now is the best bet to beat it. Here he comes into the arena section. He's about to approach where McGorgy had his spin, and if Stevens gets through there... I
think he has a cut.
You think he has a cut? Okay, so he's invalidated his lap, and into the pits he comes as well. Here's Machete, also improving on his own lap, as is Murray Watson. In fact, Watson is going even faster than Machete right now. time's tumbling, Stephen, but Stephen. But we do still have some mistakes being made from important runners as Watson now goes fourth. Oh, look how close it is up top. Sorry, the top four within 0.04 of a second. This is great, Stephen.
Yeah, moving with a very good 2 sectors there. So top four within 0.04 of a second. That's going to be quite close. I think there's actually going to be quite a big improvement from McGorry, as he was making his mistake in the final sector. So I expect one of those guys at least to get into the 19s.
I think so too. I think a bunch of these drivers have the possibility to. It's currently Lucchini at the top. Paul August Lana's first sector is quicker. It's been the second sector where he hasn't been as fast so far though. Watch this. Through the S's, you see the car understeering slightly. You see Denahan on the halo there. Jake Denahan, the usual inhabitant of this car, although unfortunately not here today, not fighting for the championship anymore, which he was technically still in contention for today. Into the arena section, still an improvement on his personal best. Paul August Lana touches the wall. If he keeps the power on, he might still be in contention for a top 5 maybe. Does go 5th. And we've got another car within 1/10 of a second. The top 5 cars all are there. Lucchini improving once again though. And
That's
this is
important.
a wonderful qualifying performance from Mirko Lucchini. His helmet, the colour of his sectors, Stephen.
Yeah, that's been really important for him to be 1.5 seconds, 1.5 tenths up, but that lap is ruined. So I guess he's going right into the pits as he still has enough time to get a fresh set of tires.
He might just clobber the sausage curb. You do not want to do that. He does have enough time for another run, but that lap could have sealed the deal. Here comes Fabian Bale. This is looking good, isn't it? Up to 17th, only 17th. Well, that shows you how close this field is. If you can be that fast there, only 8/10 off the leaders and only be 17th. This is one of the closest fields I've seen in a while. Here comes McGorgy. Can he set that flying lap that he was attempting before? Only goes 5th. He can definitely do better than that, surely. Still within 0.5 of a second of the leaders. Mike Quinn, not a technical purple, although it is faster than his teammate Lucchini's, and he's probably on a similar setup too. Watch how this works for Mike Quinn, Stephen.
I think he actually extended there, so I expect this to be a track cut, so I think he's going to be quite fast into the pits now, which is going to be very close. Let's see.
He's not going to get time for another lap. This is still it looks still to be valid, so obviously didn't extend enough or egregiously enough to draw the ire of the in-game penalty mechanic. Here he comes up to the line. Mike Quint about to jump up the order slightly. Ooh, stays P10. Was about 1/10.5 off his best. Panastenko moving up from FS2 today. 22nd. Stays 22nd. We're into the final minute and 20 of this session, meaning that everyone who's starting a lap now will be able to finish it, but they won't be able to get another attempt. This is the last chance for all of these drivers. Alexander Ragosa, technically not a purple first sector, although still pretty darn quick. Through the S as he goes. Up towards the second sector timing beam, which is a little earlier in the lap than it shows up as, although the third sector is still significantly the shortest of the 3 sectors. Ragosa improving in the second sector as well, getting closer to the top of the order. Through the final corner he goes now. It's one that levels out, and across the line he goes. P9 for Alex Ragosa. George Whitehouse about to get up there too. He goes P19. And Stavros Musadis as well. Goodness, everyone's going quicker in the first sector. This could be a little worrying for Lucchini in the race, actually, if his first sector's slow, because that's where all the overtaking takes place. Ruben Machete now might be the last person to challenge Mirko Lucchini. Actually, I tell you what, Stevens on an even quicker one. Stevens' first sector is 2/10 faster than Ruben Machete's. Here's Lucchini about to complete another lap and move the boundary further out of touch if he can, although actually he hasn't beaten his personal best in either of the first 2 sectors, despite the purple that you see there. Let's see if he can get the third sector right, though. This could be so important. Machete's completed his lap. He is no quicker. Machete stays second. Lucchini improves, doesn't quite get into the 119s. What does Stevens do? I feel like Stevens is about to take pole here in the bright pink Nocturne car. Through the final couple of corners he goes now, puts the power down, and is it pole? He comes across the line. It's not. So Tom Stevens does not go up to pole position. He is slightly down on his best, and Moritz Kropp can only do second. Moritz Kropp comes across the line second, and that appears to be the end of the session for everyone who could have challenged pole. It's Lucchini on pole position by 1/10 of a second over Kropp, Machete, Stevens and Watson. We didn't quite get the 119s we were predicting. They got very, very close in the end. But what a session that was. How close can you get between this many GPVWC FS1 drivers? Look at those times. It's Lucchini on top, followed by Kropp, Machete, Stevens, Watson, McGorgy, Lana, Hamming, Ragosa, Munier. We're still only down to 4/10 of a second behind the leader at this point on a track that, I mean, sure, it's not the longest of circuits, but it's also not exactly short. And we'll see the rest of the order as they scroll past. But Stephen, how close? This is great. Stephen, what do you think about the P2 to P6, possibly even P7 or lower chain of cars there? They're all separated by less than 1/10 of a second, and only just behind the leader as well.
Yeah, this is quite impressive from everybody here. So this is going to be quite an intense first stint in the race, I think. So Lucchini seems to have a bit more downforce, which should help him with the tire wear, but yeah, I think on the way to the first corner, this is going to be, it could be 4 wide.
It's going to be difficult for him to keep the lead if his qualifying performance is anything to go by. He may technically be the fastest driver here today, but like I was saying earlier, there is a chance that the ideal race setup and the ideal qualifying setup are different, and therefore we are unlikely to see a winner from pole position today, at least not in the first race, but we'll see. And Lucchini has a good chance of proving me wrong, because like I said before, he is very, very good and clearly the fastest driver in qualifying. We're going to have a look at the penalties if I can quickly. It looks as if the penalties from the last round are minimal. We've had it looks like Perseus Miram has a 1 race ban, so he is not here today. And the Owen McGorgy versus Tom Stevens incident, where McGorgy ended up running through the grass slightly in the last race, was judged a racing incident. And personally, I think that was the right decision, because those two, they went at it hard, and that kind of thing sometimes happens with hard racing, but it's not like one of them fouled the other or anything like that. I really do feel like there was space given, and luckily nothing's come of that, so it hasn't affected the race between those two at all. Okay, so we've got a few minutes now with this warm-up session until the start of the formation lap. So let's go through some championship permutations as we stand. So it's Tom Stevens leading the championship by 75 points over Owen McGorgy right now. Then we've got Jake Dennehan, 53 points is the difference. Then we've got Jake Dennehan slightly further back. Jake Dennehan not here today and therefore is no longer in the championship scrap. Frank Hamming is P4, followed by Murray Watson, Moritz Kropp, Darius Andre, Alexander Ragosa, Damien Kardash and Menno Klont, the top 10 in the drivers standings. And what does that mean for the championship? Well, it means that Owen McGorgy needs to score 7 points more than Tom Stevens here today in order to keep the championship alive. If he did score 6 more points, he would tie with Tom Stevens or he could still tie with Tom Stevens on points, providing that he won the last 2 races of the championship, but it would still not be enough for the championship, as Tom Stevens has more wins and more second places than Owen McGorgy, and therefore would win on countback no matter how many wins Owen would get himself. 7 points, that is actually doable in race 1, but it's also doable that Tom Stevens could win the championship in race 1. If he finishes in the top 3 with Owen McGorgy outside of the points, then Stevens is champion. What Owen McGorgy can do in race 2. And there are some other potential permutations in there as well, potential ways that Stevens could win it, although they are slightly more complicated, and some of them involve the extra point for fastest lap, so I won't go over them now. I will go over them as they happen, if they happen. But all you really need to know is that McGorgy absolutely has to finish in the points in this race, otherwise Stevens can just cruise home to a top 3 finish and take the championship with 3 races to go. Stephen, we have quite a showdown in front of us today, because even if we don't get a fight for the championship, the gaps between the cars in qualifying shows us that it's going to be close, and not just between the drivers at the top of the qualifying order as well. Tom Stevens and Owen McGorgy are actually starting nose to tail today, 4th and 6th in the order. And if we know those two, then that could be a sight to behold.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite an interesting one in terms of tires as well. So I expect quite a few guys actually trying the 2-stopper as well. I've done some laps with the car before, and the tires seem to go off quite a bit, especially the soft. So the 2-stopper might actually be faster if you have the top speed to overtake. And from the first sectors in the qualifying, I could see that Owen McGorgy had quite a high top speed compared to everybody else, with Menno Klont being very far down, and also Lucchini being consistently down in Sector 1, which might help him. The extra downforce could help you to save the tires in Sector 2 especially. So that's going to be interesting.
Indeed it is. I'm quite happy for Moritz Kropp as well, because he's had a few performances that were not as good as he would have liked recently. Moritz started the season really strong, although unfortunately hasn't really performed in the last few rounds. Had a terrible Japanese round of the championship and an equally bad Italian round, although luckily his qualifying performance today shows that he hasn't lost anything. It just hasn't quite been present in the last few rounds. All 3 of those top 3 in the order are slightly unexpected, I suppose you could say. Mirko Lucchini is like I said, a pretty good driver, although having joined this championship at Spa, at the Belgium round, his best result is only a 4th place finish. So starting from pole sets him up for what could potentially be his first podium, but we're really getting ahead of ourselves right now, talking about podiums and everything before the race has even started. Still though, very good opportunity for Mirko Lucchini. And Ruben Machedi, I mean, what can we say about him? He's young, but he is very quick. And the last time we saw him in FS1, he actually won race 2 at Silverstone. Can he do the same thing here today? Can he potentially fight for race 1 potentially?
I guess everybody.
He's got the pace for it.
I guess everybody who starts in the top 8 or top 5 could be leading after the first corner. Depending on the start, it's very long, and the slipstream of those cars is way stronger than the FS2 cars. So, yeah.
And it's also worth noting, of course, that Ruben Machedi is 3rd in the FS2 championship this year, despite having missed 2 rounds, which shows you just how good he actually is. How long have we got on the timer now? Well, we're still we've got about 4 minutes left on the warm-up timer, so we've still got a bit of time. There you see the calendar on the screen in front of you, or what remains of it anyway. We're getting deep into the season now, with just this round and then 1 more remaining. And I hope, as much as I like Tom Stevens as a person and as much as I wish him well, I hope that the championship goes down to the final round, because obviously, from a neutral point of view, that's the best for everyone, I think. And as a result, it would certainly make it more exciting if Owen McGorgy could score at least 7 more points than Tom Stevens today. It's going to be difficult, of course, with Tom in the form that he's in, but Owen McGorgy just as good as Tom Stevens on his day, which is what's made the battle between the two of them so exciting. McGorgy had a little bit of a dip mid-season, which is why Tom Stevens is in front. Stevens has not dipped at any point in the season. He's been consistently scoring wins and podiums all the way through it. And come to think of it, so is Owen, of course. It's just that in the mid part of the season, he was only scoring podiums and not victories. And in a championship as closely fought as this, that can make all of the difference. Both of them on a little bit of a streak right now. Stevens finished second in both of the races at Japan. The last time Stevens finished outside of the points was race 2 at Silverstone. And Owen McGorgy has 3 podiums in a row, including one victory right now. And it's a shame to see Darius Andre not here as well, because he also picked up a victory in race 2 at Suzuka last time. So going out with a bit of a bang. Hopefully he'll be back at Sao Paulo. That will be in 2 weeks time. Not much time left in the warm-up now. And yeah, so we've already spoken about tyres a little, but we have a pit stop in front of us. Stephen, how do you think it's going to be the undercut or the overcut that's necessarily going to be important today? And also, with the amount of slipstreaming that goes in, does it actually affect you much if you find yourself behind another driver, or can you use them to actually gain lap time potentially, a bit like you can at Monza?
Well, I expect the undercut to be very powerful around here, probably about 1.5 to 2 seconds, as the softs get quite hot around here, especially the rears. So that's going to be quite important. And then when you do a two-stopper, it's going to be very important where you come out. You can have quite a good top speed, but when you have a DRS train in front of you, it's going to be nigh on impossible to overtake, so you have to be very smart when to pit. As I don't actually know the pit delta around here, I would actually say it would be around 25 seconds. So that's where the race engineers for all the teams come in as well, to not get held up behind the lap 3 cars. That could really ruin your race, and the undercut could be ruined.
Indeed it could. Okay, there's oh, Jack Mayer's out here. Okay, Jack Mayer, strong in GPVWC FS2 this year, on course to potentially win it. Actually, he's fighting with Luke Mitchell for that championship, and making an appearance for PB racing today. It just shows you that no matter how well you get to know these drivers, sometimes you still get shocks when you look at the order and you're like, oh, he's doing it today, interesting. With drivers coming in that you wouldn't expect. Loic Mounier was one of them when he joined the championship a few rounds ago for Multiforce, replacing Jason Muscat, who hasn't been here in a little while. Loic, another of the FS2 challengers, and Loic has recently got his first win in the Formula Sprint 2 championship as well. Did very well at the Japanese round of the season. In terms of FS1, he's acquainted himself very well with this car, scoring 4 points finishes in 4 races, 28 points in total, which is always a good start to anyone's campaign, even if it's late. He's currently top of this warm-up session timing sheet, and even though that doesn't necessarily mean anything, always good to see a big fat number 1 next to your name, isn't it, Stephen?
Of course, it gives you confidence, especially in warm-up, because you know now everybody should be on race fuel. Now it matters. Now you know everybody's using the same fuel load. Unfortunately, I've been first in practice for quite a few sessions, and I haven't been able to put it on to pole that often, but still it's quite a boost if you can show your pace. Especially now, the times can be a bit misleading. You don't know how much everybody is pushing and how much tire saving is in there.
Indeed. So we're now getting ready. The checker flag is out on this warm-up session, and we're about to take over to the formation lap. Hello to everyone watching along. We've got Rocky in the YouTube chat. We've got Ruben Machete. What are you doing in the YouTube chat? Go out there and race a bit. Jake Denahan saying, let's go Ruben and Paul. Jake, what are you doing in the chat? Why aren't you here today? Actually, if you could let us know, that would be very helpful, because I was very much expecting to see you on the track today. Toby Davis looking forward to this. Of course you are, Toby. Your driver could win it today. And Szymon Frelik also giving a little wave. And Szymon is very kindly providing the cameras and the stream that you're seeing right now. So rather than just getting involved in the YouTube chat, he is getting properly involved here. Okay, the session is advancing. We have about a minute to go until the start of the formation lap at least. And with this slightly unusual grid, due to it being a slightly unusual circuit, we're getting ready for a 26-car race, around 35 laps of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, one mandatory pit stop, providing it doesn't rain, which, I mean, it won't. It's looking very, very warm right now. 50 Celsius track temperature, that's a bit warm, isn't it? The air temperature isn't that bad, but obviously the track just absorbing everything could lead to even more overheating of the soft tyres if you think about it. But anyway, and 15 seconds to go until the start of the formation lap now. Stephen, we're about to show the grid order, but just quickly, what do you think Mirko Lucchini and Moritz Kropp can do from that front row of the grid? And who do you reckon is going to get to turn 1 first?
Well, for Lucchini, I think he's going to be eaten alive. And yeah, I mean, with the two championship rivals being in 4th and 6th, that's going to be quite dangerous. It could be over in turn 1, so that's going to be tasty.
Yeah, very long run to turn 1, one of the longest on the calendar. Let's get the grid order up on screen if we can, Szymon, and we'll see who's starting where. Lucchini there takes a pole position, which I believe is his first at this level. Moritz Kropp is second on the grid in the Nocturne car. Then we have Ruben Machete and Tom Stevens. Tom, who has the race of his life ahead of him. Amari Watson, P5, then Owen McGorgy, P6, Paul Augustlana, P7, and then Frank Hamming, P8. Alexander Ragosa lines up P9, followed by Loic Mounier, who is on course for another top 10 finish. Federico P11, Mike Quint, P12. Damian Kardash, P13, then it's Manu Klunt, Tez Zubinski, and Stavros Musadis. We're down to 16th position, and probably not even a second back in terms of the quali times just yet. Jack Mayer, FS2 points leader, followed by Philip Koenig, then Fabian Valle, and George Whitehouse there. Dylan Tarberton, Sava Panasenko, Perseus Miram, and Rafał Lukaszewski getting to the back part of the order, but these drivers still competitive enough to fight their way through. There's Vincent Gutt and Remco de Joux rounding out the grid. Remco, who drove in a couple of Super League races early this season and has a lot to do from the very back of the order. Here we go to the grid then, and there are the tyre compounds that the drivers are going to be starting on. All of the top 12 on the soft tyre, which Stephen reckons is going to be the weaker tyre today, and look for them to maybe get it over and done with. And then 13th place, we have Damian Kardash as the top driver on the hard tyre. Very weirdly placed in his grid box, very far over to the left, although if the game registers it as in, then it is in, and the race can begin. Watch for the 5 red lights at the top of the gantry. When they go out, we'll be underway for 35 laps of racing here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. It's Mirko Lucchini on pole, alongside the special liveried Nocturne, bright pink for breast cancer awareness. Here come the lights. 4 lights, and it's 5. And go! Away we go at the start of the race. Moritz Kropf slightly slower away. Ruben Machete's going to come through. Now watch as they try to swamp Mirko Lucchini towards turn 1. The very long run to turn 1. Machete's going to be on the left-hand side. Here comes Stevens. McGorgy finds a gap. They're 5 wide for the lead. McGorgy sweeps straight through. They went 5 wide for the lead. And Owen McGorgy will lead the race into turn 2. Amazing stuff there. It's Stevens second and Machete third. Lucchini fourth. I think there's been an incident somewhere further back because there's yellow flags flying and drivers dropping down the order. Lukashevsky appears to have been the worst off. He's lost his front wing. Now they head down into the chicane for the very first time. What a start that was from McGorgy, up from 6th on the grid to the lead of the race, potentially the start of the season, and finding a gap that really didn't look like it was there, but it was. We now have the top 2 in the championship, 1st and 2nd in the race, albeit in the opposite order from the way round that they are in the championship. Towards the end of the first lap we go, no DRS just yet, but even more slipstreaming is just what the doctor ordered, and that's what we're going to see as they head down the start-finish straight for the second time of asking. Stephen, what a start there from Owen McGorgy.
Yep, exactly what I expected. He's got quite a high top speed, and so I think it's going to be quite difficult for Stevens to get past there, even with the DRS, so we can see he's barely gaining, so that's going to be quite important. Very good start, very clean at the start. So
and Lana's up to 4th. Sorry, Lana jumps to Lucchini, so as expected, Lucchini is struggling in the straight line. He lost 4 positions on the opening lap, or 3 positions on the opening lap, and now he's lost another on lap 2. There's Musadis in a battle further back with Jack Mayer, and into the chicane they go, almost single file. Almost coming together as well, but they've made it work. There's Loic Mounier now on the back of Moritz Kropf, who also has dropped back on the first lap, even further actually than Lucchini has, and appears to be lagging a little. I noticed that as they were heading to the grid. That's a little worrying actually. Keep your eyes on that. Hopefully he can keep in the race. Now here's a replay of McGorgy's start. Watch this. He's going to see a gap that really does not look plausible, and they were indeed 5 wide. Look at that! You can't get a much smaller gap than that. And isn't that quite a picture? The photographers would have been going wild at the side of the road just then. There's the incident. It looks like it started with Russo and Quint. So Russo and Quint came together. Ooh, Fabian Ballet got flicked up in the air, and it was Lukashevsky who lost his front wing on the inside of the curb. Now, we have Owen McGorgy and Tom Stevens once again in the slipstream on the start-finish straight. The only difference is that this lap, it's for the DRS, so there's no DRS just yet, but there will be from the 3rd DRS zone, which is later on in the lap. I don't think there's another DRS activation zone before the 2nd DRS zone, as there you see Ragosa now fighting with Watson. So yes, DRS still not quite open for the first time, even though this is another DRS zone here, but you will get it down towards the arena section. Now, through goes Loic Mounier. Great start for Mounier. He's up to 6th place already. Here comes Ragosa! And very nearly, and that was very good actually, slotting between the 2 cars and making it work. Good stuff. Again, it's all about finding gaps, which they've been doing very, very well indeed. And here's a replay, Stephen.
very, very well done by Loic. Saw the 2 guys fighting. They were really slowing each other down, being careful on the groove from the outside, and especially the anti-cut. Those things are very
and Lana's had a spin. Lana's had a spin from 5th position. So Paul August Lana from 4th place rather has dropped behind Lucchini. He's down into 11th now. Looks as if he got over the sausage curb on the X of the S's and actually hit the wall with the rear, so he's lucky to still have his rear wing. Here's a replay of what just happened. Round he goes, clonk, and another clonk on the rear. He rejoins. He's only 11th though, in a race that was looking so good for him. And Stevens takes the lead up the inside into turn 1. Tom Stevens finally gets the DRS and uses it to take away the lead from Owen McGorgy. He becomes the 2nd different leader of this race. There is Paul August Lana now being attacked and passed by Menno Klont as well, so it's going from bad to worse for him. And he's got George Whitehouse on his tail. But yes, we have a new race leader, Stephen. Tom Stevens has got it.
Yep, now he gets to get out of that DRS because when when Owen is getting close at the start of the straight, it's going to be quite impossible for Tom to keep the position.
Kardash spun, so he's no longer the top driver on hard tyres, being a little mugged by the rest of the field there. Drops down. I'm going to check who actually is the fastest driver on, or the top driver on the harder compounded tyre. Now here he is. He's on the back of George Whitehouse, is that? Yeah, goes up the inside and clogs straight into the side of Menno Clont and spins the car around. So not ideal, and that actually makes George Whitehouse the top driver on hard tyres now in 13th position, which is where Damien Kardash qualified, incidentally. Onto the start-finish straight once again. Stevens with the fastest lap of all, and no surprise there. He got a wonderful dose of slipstream, followed by clean track for the rest of the lap. Here comes Menno Clont now on a Murray Watson. To the outside he goes. They both have DRS. He's on the outside and brakes a little later and gets the inside line for the S's. Bit of contact. They've got to be careful. Wide goes like Quint. Loses out in all of that one, and Watson loses out to Hamming as well. Those two HGP teammates still side by side. Watson back in front of Hamming. That contact there, that's where Vettel and Hamilton came together in 2017, giving the champion to Lewis Hamilton in that year. But oh, and there is the lag spike that I was fearing would happen for Moritz Kropp, who spins around and recovers. But yes, he's been lagging since the formation lap. It's not looking good for Moritz Kropp and his connection today. And it's a little dangerous, actually. I do hope he doesn't get anyone else involved. None of this is his fault, clearly. But it's going to cost him valuable points nonetheless. Here's a replay. He's going to lag straight back behind the HGP cars. And there it is. And he finds himself on the grass. Not his fault whatsoever. And a good job no one else got involved, Stephen.
Yeah, but that didn't really look like a connection issue. That more looked like a screen freeze, which fortunately didn't kill anybody else. Because yeah, I was the victim of that in FS2 in Hungary. So very lucky that nobody else got hit by that.
Indeed. Meanwhile, Kardash side by side with Kropp. That is over 15th, 16th place, and through as well. Ooh, and wide. And that was Federico Russo, who's going to lose out in that one. He'll have to give up the place. Or it's Kropp. Has got to be gritting his teeth now, saying, please don't do that again, please don't do that again. Talking to his computer or his internet or whatever it was, of course. And that is Philip Koenig getting involved and making up some places as well. Meanwhile, the top two have broken clear of the rest of the field pretty much. They're still together, they're still just about, or McGorgy is still just about hanging on to Stevens, but they are now 3 seconds ahead of Ruben Machete. So some wonderful clean air for those two drivers. Machete's in a bit of clean air by himself, actually. And then you have Bikini, Mounier, etc. Frank Hamming on the back of Murray Watson. Two experienced drivers that HGP have this year. They've gone for experience over youth. Frank Hamming slides his way through, takes over 7th position now, and good teamwork not to fight each other too hard. Mateusz Jabinski is 13th. There's Jack Mayer. He's just got past Moritz Kropp, hasn't he? Yeah, so Jack Mayer now up to 16th. The FS2 points leader. So I think he's just been passed actually by Damien Kardash because he doesn't have the DRS, which shows me that he was potentially ahead before this all happened. So rather than making a move, he is under attack right now and losing a few places in a car that he's not quite as familiar with as the FS2 machine. Back to Murray Watson and Mike Quint now. 7 laps into the race. I know it's still going to be a little while, Stephen, but when would you expect the first few pit stops?
I would expect them between 12 and 15, actually.
Okay, I think so still pretty early.
Yeah, you could see it in the timings. The drivers are already 0.6 to 1.5 seconds slower than at the start of the race. You can see that Lucchini is not dropping off as much with his higher downforce, so he could be quite fast at the end of the stint.
Fantastic. And up the inside, that is Mike Quint now, and going through. Now, do you reckon that the loss of time that we're seeing since the start of the race is due to drivers just settling in and doing a bit of tyre saving, or do you think they really just don't have as much grip as they did at the start?
I think they don't have the grip anymore, at least some of them. It really depends on whether you overheat while Mercedes is doing the move. So it really depends on whether you overheat the tires or not. So the higher downforced setup guys should have an advantage here because they don't have to push that much in the corners to have the grip.
Indeed. Here we are in the middle sector now. Coming towards the end of this particular lap. Marco Lucchini has caught up to Ruben Machedi. He's going to be within DRS range. I can also tell you McGorky is no longer within DRS range of Tom Stevens, so both of the two of them getting away at the front, with Stevens in particular. Machedi though, what can he do about holding off Mirko Lucchini? To be honest, considering that Lucchini seems to be struggling in a straight line, I mean, obviously this isn't a good example of it because he had the DRS and the slipstream there, but will it actually be that difficult, or does he just have to hold his line? Ooh, whereas he hasn't done, actually got the curb slightly as we're speaking. Sorry, I think Lucchini might be about to have a go here because Machedi got over the sausage curb. And Mercury around the outside. He's going to have the inside line for the second part. And now up towards the hairpin. If Machedi can keep it there, he's got the traction. And a big slide for Lucchini. There's definitely more traction on the outside there, and Machedi holds him off. And I'm impressed actually, because I really thought that Lucchini was going to get him in the second part of that chicane. Mercedes now up into 10th, and that's because August Lana's had bit of an off once again. Not the greatest of starts for Paul August Lana here, but yeah, good defending there from Ruben Machedi despite the mistake we saw earlier in the lap.
Yeah, you can clearly see those two are starting to fight now, and with Lucchini, with him spinning up those rears, if he does that a few times, they will really start to overtake. As you can see, he's got less traction, but I think being this close, it should be an easy pass this time around. Even on the first straight.
Here we go then, and Machedi chooses the inside line. Lucchini says, that's alright, I got the overspeed here. And he goes straight up into third position now. A relatively easy overtake, of course, still had to get the exit to the final corner right and all that, but it's about as straightforward an overtake as you can make. Whatever the case, up into third place he goes now, and back onto the podium that he lost on that very straight, heading down on the first lap. Kardash now back up into P14 as we speak, and back up into the lead of the hard tyres, so getting straight back past George Whitehouse there. Impressive after his little error earlier on. I thought that Whitehouse would hold on for a bit longer, but anyway, Damien Kardash looking fairly quick out there. Yellow flag somewhere. It's been quite a clean race so far actually, because yes, we had a little collision in the first lap, but since then it's been okay. Looks as if Perseus Miram somehow lost it on the straight there. He's rejoined, but anyway, must have been coming out of turn 3. Yeah, got over the sausage curb and spun it. Anyway, that's what the yellow was for. No harm done though. Hasn't hit the barriers or anything. Everyone still has their wings about them. Of course, Rafał Lukaszewski had to replace his after the first lap, but he's got them back now. He's actually about to be lapped by the leaders, but if anything, that's probably going to help Tom Stevens now, because he'll get the DRS down this next long straight. First time Stevens has had DRS in a little while. And this is a 4-wide scrap further back. Stavros Mercedes trying to hold on to 10th position, but look at the number of challenges he's got to that position. Ooh, big dive from Paul August Lana, Mateusz Jabinski, it's Menno Klont and Damien Kardash involved in this as well. And a spinner in the background, that was Federico Russo going around just out of your peripheral vision. And into the chicane they go. And there's been an incident for Loic Mounier. Mounier is slow on the exit of the hairpin. He was running 5th. And he's now down into 9th place. Zaragoza's up to 5th. And there's George Whitehouse. But yes, like Munio, I was recently, earlier today actually, I was re-watching the Singapore round of FS2, which I couldn't see very clearly before due to being in the race. But Loic was a superstar there. Absolutely. And he was right up there challenging. Today though, little mistake. And talking of, actually it's not a mistake, Tom Stevens is in the pits. So Stevens, one of the earliest to come in from the front of the order. I just saw him dropping down and thought, oh no.
He's on the softs. Yeah, he's doing a two-stopper. He's on the softs again.
Yeah, that'll be why he's done it too early. So Tom Stevens thinks, yeah, tyres are absolutely overheating. Got to go for a two-stopper. Maybe that was his plan overall. It wouldn't be far off what he did in Hungary, actually. Remember, ended up winning that race due to a two-stop strategy. And today, going for it once again. And he's got a little bit of traffic in front of him. It's going to be tricky, although if he can get past them on the straight, they won't actually hold him up that much. I think they are going to hold him up, though. There's 3 cars in a train right in front of him. Not the ideal situation to find yourself in coming out of the pits, even on a two-stop strategy where you'd expect it. Towards the S as we go now. So how many other... Indeed, how many other drivers are going to be going for two-stoppers here? Do you reckon it's going to be the norm? Or is this an ambitious early stop from Tom Stevens, possibly causing others to react? We'll see.
Yeah, but this is really costing him. That's the worst thing that could have happened, him being in a DRS train now. So it's going to be very difficult to overtake, even with some top speed. But the cars ahead have the slipstream, they have the DRS as well. So let's see. He should, in theory, be able to brake later with the extra grip. Could be doing a double overtake now.
Here. Oh, he's going to get boxed in behind Paul Augustlana. He's going to try to follow Damien Kardash through. There is a gap. He finds it. Does he get squeezed? Oh, a little. He does a little, but he makes it. Okay, so he's got one of them. That was Paul Augustlana that he got past there with a little bit of a tap. Here he comes on Damien Kardash now to the inside of the chicane, which can very quickly turn to the outside, but he gets that as well and covers it off. So Stevens up to 10th place now. Mateusz Jabinski is the car ahead of him. And this is going to be one of those races where it's very difficult to work out how it's going to shake out at the end of it, because it's all going to be down to the last few laps where Stevens may have to repass Owen McGorgy or his other competitors on track. Yellow's out there somewhere. And Stevens still on the back of Mateusz Jabinski. There is the third DRS zone, if you were wondering. It's just heading down into the arena section, which is frustratingly followed by a third gear right-hander. And into the pits comes Owen McGorgy now. So McGorgy pits from the lead. Lucchini really hit the lead, which he held for a couple of meters at the start of this race. And could that also be a two-stopper from McGorgy? It looks like it. He's on softs as well. So we've got two stoppers for not just the leader, but the leaders, and Stevens is going to get several cars between him and McGorgy now. He's got Jabinski and Kardash separating the two of them. Now that is exactly why Stevens needed to get past those cars quickly, and exactly why, or exactly what he would have wanted to see. Owen McGorgy is not in his mirrors, and he is going to be held up just as Stevens was. And Stevens, oh, look at that from McGorgy over the curb. He's possibly a little desperate now. He's going to see Stevens disappearing, but Stevens himself actually is now behind Stavros Musadis, so it might not be over yet. Here's McGorgy to the outside. Come on, look at that. Finds the grass.
Yeah, just look at the sectors. Just look at the times. The top guys, the guys in the one-stopper, they're more than 2 seconds off their personal bests. So that's going to be quite a big difference in tires for McGorgy and Stevens right now, especially as these guys are a bit slower.
Lucchini and Machete are in the pits. So is Alexander Ragosa. So is Amari Watson. So Frank Hamming will take the lead now. Mike Quint is second. And Tom Stevens is going to go through to third place now. He's going to overtake Stavros Musadis on the straight to go through to third, and he does. And there's going to be more two-stoppers coming from some of these drivers in the pits now. Machete's on hards. The softs. Ragosa's on hards. Watson is on soft. So Ragosa's the only one of this bunch who could still go for a one-stopper. Lucchini could as well. Lucchini's on hards. And there is Magorgi on Ziobinski. Up into 5th place now. So, what do you think Lucchini and... who was it? I literally just said it, didn't I? What do you think Lucchini's going to do? Oh yeah, Ragosa, that was it. What do you think Lucchini and Ragosa are going to do? Are they going to two-stop but have the softs as their second stint? Or are they going to say, well, if I leave it out on hards, I have the opportunity to gain even more positions here when the car's ahead pit. I'm going for a one-stopper. What's going to happen here?
Well, they have the option to do both things, but I think that Lucchini, for example, will do the one-stopper as he's been the best on his tires in the first stint. With Machete, it's going to be a different story for him as he dropped off a bit more.
Retakes the lead. Tom Stevens retakes the lead as Frank Hamming and Mike Quint both come down the pit lane as well. Quint is on hards. Hamming is also probably going to be on hards at this point because it's definitely possible to do the rest of the race without stopping if you go onto hards. He goes onto soft, so it's a two-stopper for Hamming, sorry. So Quint is on hards and Hamming on softs. Meanwhile, the gap for the lead is 3 seconds between Stevens and Magorgi. It's Stevens, Magorgi, then Musadis, who is yet to stop. And then Kardash, Ziobinski, Tarbutin, Meyer, Lucchini, Machete, and Ragosa, the top 10, with some of those positions not exactly representative. Kardash still the top driver on hard tyres. Musadis, though, the top driver yet to stop, leaving it out very late here. And one of the... I think potentially one of the biggest gainers in that strategy, in that sequence of stops, was Mirko Lucchini, because not only does he not necessarily have to stop again, but he came out about 5 seconds ahead of Ruben Machete, who was right with him before they came in. So a big gain there from Mirko Lucchini, even though he's definitely lost time to the leaders. Machete has spun, so Machete spins around, and that's going to give Lucchini even more breathing space. Musadis now comes into the pit, so Kardash will be third overall. And here is a replay of the spin. It's exactly what Paul Augustlana did in the other TCS Off Racing car. So Machete doing exactly the same thing that his teammate did. Ziobinski is also in the pits now.
And Caitlin, I think now the question is answered if he's going to do a one or two stopper. I think he's definitely on a two stopper right now. With that flat spots.
Who's that, sorry?
Ruben Machete. I think he's definitely on a two-stopper now with those flat spots.
Yeah, he's got to be. Well, he was going to be anyway, because Machete was one of the drivers who... Oh no, he is on hards, yes. So Machete potentially still to stop again for another set of softs. Although it's unusual to see drivers making a late stop for softs. Here's Jack Mayer, 5th place right now on the hard tyres. Someone running quite wide up ahead there. That was a back marker between the leaders.
And I think the likes of Mayer, who is still on their first set of hard tyres, are going to do the one-stopper because otherwise they would have pitted way before now. So actually, McGorry is catching Stevens as expected, as he has 2-lap pressure tyres. Should give him the opportunity to get very close this stint and maybe do an undercut onto the final set of hards. He's within 2 seconds now, so he's getting in the undercut range.
Now, if you're looking at the drivers who, as there is Jack Mayer now up the inside of Dylan Tarbutin, goes through into 4th position temporarily. But if you were looking at the drivers who have pitted for another set of softs and thinking, well, you know, if they've done 15 laps on softs, they can do another 20. No, they can't, because they are physically, or they're legally not allowed to in this race. They have to use 2 compounds of dry tyres, otherwise everyone would probably do the race on 1 compound. But anyway, they must stop again, simply so that they don't get disqualified. There's George Whitehouse getting past Philip Koenig, and Loic Mounier coming back through as well. in his own recovery drive. Makes up the place. The gap between the leaders came down slightly. 2.5 seconds it is right now, although Stephen's still the driver who's shown the ultimate outright pace on this in this race, with the fastest lap of all, I think, which is still the lap he set on lap 4 when he slipstreamed past McGorgy for the first time. Yeah, holding that time, which might come down again if another driver gets into a similar situation but on lower fuel towards the end of the race. Dylan Tarleton back in the slipstream of Jack Mayer, as there's another yellow flag out there somewhere. Still every driver...
I think it's Machete again.
It is. So Ruben Machete has lost his rear wing. Yeah, and it's in the same place too. It's the same part of the course. He's probably done the same thing. Anyway, I was going to say every driver is still remaining, although it's going to be difficult for Machete to finish the race now. And no, he lost it way earlier this time. Machete actually lost it about a corner earlier than he did the previous time. Wiggled over the sausage curbs and ended up flying backwards through the escape road into the barriers, which is why he no longer has a rear wing. And you're about to see it. His rears are going to give way there, right there. Ooh.
That has been the curb. That was the curb. Yep. Maybe the setup was made for the softs. Maybe it would have been a better idea to do a two-stopper, as he seems to struggle quite a bit on the hards. But actually the gap in the front is getting smaller every lap. 3/10 the lap before, now 2/10 again. He's getting closer with the fresher tires.
It's worth continuing in this race, whatever happens, because it will affect your starting position for race 2. Kardash pits from 3rd position. The top driver yet to stop is now Dylan Tarleton, who got back past Jack Mayer on that last lap. Merculikini is going to split the two of them. Merculikini still favourite for 3rd place in this race.
I think he shouldn't have any competition right now. The only competition to that would have been Machete. And yeah,
potentially,
it's
yeah.
gone now.
He's only 2 seconds ahead of Frank Hamming as it is. Yes, they've got a car between them, but still a decent way to go in this race. And we've seen so far today a bunch of drivers making mistakes. I mean, Ruben Machete is as good as Dylan Tarleton, arguably, and I mean as Merculikini, arguably, and I mean he's made mistakes today. So who's to say that Merculikini won't? Keep your eye on Merculikini here as he's about to pass Dylan Tarleton. Not quite down into the arena. Although I did have a few people lunging on me down into there in the FS2 race. Actually caused a little bit of a shunt myself there on lap 1, which I do apologise about. That was with Julio Lopez, who I apologised to in Discord afterwards. Tarleton now into the pits, so Tarleton does come in. Jack Mayer now the top driver, not yet to have made a pit stop, leaving it late, going on to softs late on in this race, I expect. Dylan Tarleton, who I've also seen racing for Virtual Drivers by TX3 in some prototype endurance racing recently as well. Quite a versatile driver, even though these cars do handle quite a lot like prototypes in my opinion. Stavros Musadis, 14th. There's Frank Hamming now, being held up by Jack Mayer, no doubt. Not that it's Jack Mayer's fault, he's... Ooh, a little touch. Hamming, getting a bit pushy. How pushy can you afford to be here, Stephen?
Well, not that much. They're still Formula cars. So if I was him, I would just wait it out now, because if he goes by now, Mayer will get the DRS in the start-finish straight and he would be able to go by again if he wanted to.
And a brave move, but he gets through. Good stuff.
Yep. But now Mayer is close, very close, and he will get the DRS in the start-finish straight and the straight after.
I wonder if Mayer will stay out to benefit from the DRS. No, he comes in. I was going to say, because it was obvious that Mayer would need to pit soon, but the question for him would be, you know, is it better to stay out and get the DRS or come in and get the fresh tyres? And he's chosen the fresh tyres, which I think is probably wise. Jack Mayer running decently on his first FS1 outing of the year. I think it's his first of the year. So at this point in the race, Tom Stevens leads by just 1.3 seconds over Owen McGorgy. McGorgy has been consistently faster in the second stint of the race. There's Paul Lana fighting with Damien Kardash. It's Lucchini third, but a long way back. The top two in a class of their own today. Then it's Frank Hampton, Alexander Ragosa, Murray Watson, Mike Quint, George Whitehouse, Loeb Meunier, and Moritz Krop. And the last points so far taken up by Kardash, Lana, Ziabinsky, Musadis and Russo, but with plenty of time still to go. And the fastest lap still going the way of Tom Stevens. And Stevens in for his second stop. He will have to go onto the hard compound of tyre now. And that gives McGorgy the lead of the race back. Now what I was about to say is that if they finished that way, then Tom Stevens would have scored 8 more points than Owen McGorgy this race, meaning McGorgy would have had to have scored 15 more points than Stevens in race 2 to keep the championship alive. But now there's a spanner in the works. Can McGorgy jump Tom Stevens, potentially? I'm not sure that he can, because Stevens, as well as being on the fresh tyres, is also out in cleaner air than he had before, behind some faster drivers. Meanwhile, Krop, Whitehouse and Meunier, look at that. 3 wide on the straight. Moritz Krop gets both of them. I don't want to jinx anything, but his connection, or whatever it was, seems to be behaving a lot better than it did in the first 10 laps. And there's Meunier once again to the outside. Turns in. Gives Krop space. Oh, they touch. And Whitehouse gains advantage. Whitehouse through to 9th now. So Krop gained both positions, and now he's lost both positions. May lose another one too. More contact with Damien Kardash. Kardash over the escape road. Probably should give that up, and does. And McGorgy is in from the lead. So where does Owen McGorgy come out now? He had to react, because otherwise Stevens was going to gain too much time here.
He's done some very fast sector times in sector 1 and 2.
Stevens is going to take the lead back here. He's slipstreaming Frank Hamming as they go past. And they're 3 wide briefly, but Tom Stevens retakes. I mean, not technically the lead of the race just yet. They still have to pass Mirko Lucchini. But he retakes what could end up being the provisional lead. And there we go. So the next job is to pass Mirko Lucchini. Lucchini leads on hard tyres. He can go to the end. As Whitehouse, side by side with Krop once again, gets 9th place. And at this point, even though Lucchini is sitting and doesn't need to stop again, I have to feel that Tom Stevens is going to get him quite quickly here, because there was already about a 19-second gap. Look at this fight, this is great. Damien Kardash up the inside of Moritz Krop, goes through into 10th place. There was already a 19-second gap, and now of course Stevens is not just on softer tyres, but fresher tyres as well than Mirko Lucchini. He is going to be catching him hand over fist, and I don't expect that Lucchini is going to be able to hold him back here. I think his best bet now is to try to just keep it up, and maybe, just maybe, he'll get lucky. Hamming and McGorgy will hold each other up, and he'll be able to claim second, but it's still going to be a tough ask. Here is Owen McGorgy now, on the back of Frank Hamming, in the slipstream in the DRS. He's going to get the overspeed, and flies through. McGorgy, who used to race for HGP, not being fought particularly hard. George Whitehouse in the pits now. And Damien Kardash once again is side by side with Moritz Krop in a fight that has been going on for laps. Moritz gets P9. Knowing those two though, they'll swap back again any second now. Oh, and that's a spin! And that was Paul Lana going around, recovering in 16th position. And just so is saying, Krop and Kardash are swapping again, but it's Kardash who comes out ahead. So here is that incident for Paul Lana now, up the inside, and it's in the second part, right there. Looks as if he got over the sausage curb, and then I think he got touched from behind, didn't he? Like, it wasn't like he lost it over the curb.
I think he lost it over the curb. I think he just went into the throttle way too early. The tires, the wheels, they weren't having the grip like they had at the start of the race. But I think we're gonna see a change of lead on the second straight now.
Here we go then. Stevens back within DRS range of Mirko Lucchini. And significantly faster. And he's going to get him straight down into turn 1. Tom Stevens gets the lead back. There's a little bit of contact. And they just about get away with it. McGorgy is now right behind them as well. McGorgy just a second behind Stevens, let alone Lucchini. He's got to get him quickly though, otherwise Stevens is going to get away.
I think it's going to be very tricky to get by in the middle sector. Maybe if he wants to get straight by, he could do it before the third sector in the third DRS zone. But apart from that, now he's going to cost him a lot of time in the S's, but there's going to be nowhere by.
Also, Russo passed Mercedes for P12. Right. There is Stavros Mercedes fighting with Russo. I'm going to keep watching P2 just in case anything exciting happens as we're watching this. But Stavros Mercedes P13. Under 10 laps to go in this race now. Unfortunately, my prediction about it being difficult for Machete to finish it now is coming true. Ruben Machete has become the first and so far only DNF of this race.
Yeah, but McGorry with the DRS might be able to slipstream back into the DRS of Tom Stevens with this. He's got quite a lot of top speed. Oh, and now he has DRS on both straights, so maybe he could boost himself into the DRS window of Tom Stevens to get very close towards the end of the race.
There's traffic too, and if that stays there into the middle sector, that could come into play. And
yeah, but he's in the DRS anyway now, because he had the DRS on both straights.
That's true.
So that has gained him quite a bit of time, and if he's in the DRS of Tom Stevens, it's going to be very close for Tom, as Mercedes is on that sausage curb at the end of turn 3. Might get dive bombed. On the inside is Jack Mayer. Leaves the space and Mercedes has to concede. Maybe tries the switch back, but he goes for it on the inside. But Mayer leaves the space and he loses it. Nearly goes into Mercedes, who keeps the position. That could have been quite wrong.
I think McGorky got a little more held up by the backmarker there than Stevens did, because it was Lukashevsky who got out of the way pretty well in the first, in the DRS zone down there, and then kind of came straight back in front of McGorky. And I don't think McGorky has the DRS on this straight. No, he doesn't. That's crucial in this race. That could decide it. He's going to keep pushing though. Mateusz Jabinski on Moritz Krop now, talking of pushing. Goes to the outside, and that is another one that's going to be over before the corner. Nicely done.
It might be pretty right here now.
Yep.
Mayer in front of... who is it?
Dylan Harberton, yeah.
At Harberton and Mercedes loses 2 spots now. Mayer on those soft tires, I think they might die before the end of the race, so that's going to be quite interesting for him.
I still want to know why it says shirts off on the halo of the PB Racing team car there. That's an interesting message that's been there all season, and I feel like there's a backstory to that one, but anyway. Jack Mayer there, P13, there's Damien Kardash, P9, driving for Gallery 82 Motorsports. On that last lap, McGorky was once again not quite able to get into the DRS range of Tom Stevens, but he was close. He does have DRS actually on the straight. No, he doesn't, not quite.
Yeah, but he was within 5/1000ths of a second. So I think if he can keep up this pace, it should be doable for the next lap. Or we see Kardash going past Monet with quite ease now.
There we go.
Might even be able to go back to the racing line. Yes, he does.
Kardash, who pitted more recently, if I remember correctly. and also on the softer tyres.
So
Relatively
he will need to he will need to look after them, because at the end of the race the tyre situation could be the opposite. As you can see, Rob is not able to gain the position just yet.
Gorky did have the does have the DRS from Stevens now. Down into the arena section. He's within the DRS range for the first time since that second pit stop cycle. Owen McGorgy and Tom Stevens were not hugely impressed with each other after Suzuka. They had a wonderful fight in the race. It was amazing to see. Although Owen felt that Tom had forced him off the road, Tom felt that Owen was reporting him unfairly, and that's been a little bit of the story of the season so far. Actually, they had a very similar situation at the Hungaroring too, and it's a little disappointing because these two, when they actually get together on the road, they don't tend to collide or anything like that. They are very clean and very quick, and very it's always an entertaining squabble to watch. It's just off track. They don't get on particularly well, and neither do their team bosses for that matter. Moritz Kropp fighting with Mateusz Jubinski gets P10 once again. And the leaders are separated by less than 0.4 of a second now after McGorgy slipstreamed his way up to the back of Tom Stevens in that last DRS zone. We were watching it happen, but now he is right there, and we have a fight on our hands for the race win. Dylan Tarberton has lost his rear wing. He won't be winning anything at this rate, I'm afraid.
I would be guessing that it would be on the sausage curb. Let's see.
Yeah, I expect so.
Yeah, the outside curb. His right height was too low.
The incident that Persis Miran was lucky to get away with earlier, and Dylan not able to get away with it. Look back to the leaders, please. We've got the leaders going almost side by side, and they do go side by side on the straight now. Owen McGorgy is going through to the lead of this race, and he takes the lead away from Tom Stevens now. What about down towards the first corner? Frank Hamming also passes Lucchini for third. They might go 3 wide for third. No, that's a lap car there. That's a PP Racing car. McGorky now defending on the exit. He still has the DRS. He'll still be quicker than Stevens, sorry. I was thinking about PP Racing cars. Into the chicane they go. This next time around, it's going to be Stevens who has the DRS. Could this be a fight that pendulums its way back and forth until the end of this race?
Yeah, I think you would ideally like to be closely behind right when you go onto that final lap, because then there will be no chance for the other guy to slipstream and DRS past you once again. While we have a yellow in sector 3, that's not gonna be a problem for those two. But McGorry is able to build a little bit of a gap. He is the faster car in the straight line, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Tom Stevens, but it's going to be very important to get a good exit out of the final corner, which is very hard on this track.
The yellow flag was just Tarberton slowing down to get back to the pits. Now watch the fight once again onto the start-finish straight. There's about 6.5 of a second between them, which can come right down by the time they get to turn 1, especially since Stevens once again has the DRS. Kardash and Quint also swapping places further back. Quint's going to come out ahead of the two of those right now. Into the braking zone, the gap closing right up. Stevens gained about 0.4. In the background, Lucchini gets right back past Hamming again for third place. We really should have an inset screen or something like that, because we've got 2 major fights to watch right now. Hamming is going to come back at Mirko Lucchini now, and Loic Mounier coming back at Mike Quint. We might just see them in the background in a second, but watch Hamming around the outside and gets the inside for the next the right-hander. And now Lucchini ducks underneath him. Lucchini back through to third. Awesome stuff. Well done to Szymon for
trouble there.
doing your best to keep up with it too. Quint's going to get turned around by Kardash and rejoins into the side of Moritz Kropp, it seems. And here's a replay of what just happened then. It was down in the chicane. It looks to me as if Damien, felt that he'd been forced off the road, tried to rejoin the road as quickly as he could, and spun Mike Quint around. I'd call that a bit of an unsafe rejoin. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that was a bit too much of a dive bomb there, so very unlucky there also for Moritz Krop to get involved into there, but fortunately everything has been dealt with all the front wing loss, while at the front Tom Stevens needs to be here next to Owen McGorry at the start of the straight, because Owen McGorry has quite a good top speed. The question is, does he want to be overtaking now, or is he tactically waiting to do it on the final lap, where we have Moritz Krop going down the inside on Kardash? Pretty easy move now. Should be safe on the second DRS straight. But yeah, that's the question. Is Stevens doing it tactically now, or is McGorry just faster on the hards?
Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. This is going to be good. They see the positions they've made up and everything. McGorky up 5. All of those pretty much made up on the very first straight, heading down to turn 1 with a stunning start. Wasn't the fastest in qualifying, but he has had the straight line speed and the race pace to maintain the lead. Tom Stevens, second, is the championship leader, one of the best drivers here in GPWC. He opens the DRS once again. How close can he get to McGorky this time?
I think that's not enough.
Well, he's not going to pass him this time, but he's certainly going to get closer once again. I think the second straight is going to be a little close, isn't it? Let's watch them through the S's. Or the chicane.
I don't think that he wants to overtake now. I think he will want to overtake on the next lap, because then Owen McGorry will have no chance to attack back, while we have Zabinski being hunted down now.
Yeah, Quint. Oh.
By Quint. Ah, that's pretty close there. Everybody has the DRS.
I think Stevens feels that if he passes McGorky now, McGorky's just going to fly straight back past him again, lap 1 style. But anyway, there is Jabinski, who maintains P10 there. Some good racecraft. Those cars all very evenly matched on the straight. Jabinski coming out on top. Bit of a slide into the back of them goes Mike Quint.
And now here we go then. Stevens' slope is closer. He is closer.
There's going to be one more lap for this. Oh, I think Mike Quint had an incident. Quint dropping down. Oh, Quint retires on the penultimate lap of this race. He was in the points too.
I don't think that's enough.
Not for the first straight, but what about the second straight? Here we go then.
The exit is going to be quite important. I don't even think that McGorry is needing to defend. So
one last lap showdown for this championship leading squabble. Even if Stevens finishes second here, it may still be advantage to Tom. And Frank Hamming retakes third place, but keep watching this, because this could be his last opportunity. He's getting closer, but there's not going to be enough pace here. Ooh, threatened a dive bomb, didn't he? Took a look in his mirrors, and yes, there is Frank Hamming, who's just retaken third place in that strong scrap that's going to go to the end. There's one more DRS zone for the leaders here, but it's not really an overtaking opportunity. I think Stevens now has to startle McGorky off his line, or forever just wait. Right now he's in a position where he can wait in terms of the championship and the points, and he's not quick enough into the S's there. It looks as if he was a little unsettled by McGorky's dirty air. There is the third DRS zone. It's over now. Into the arena section they go. I think McGorky's done enough now to win this first race of the day here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Owen McGorky is going to claim 7 points, 6 points over Tom Stevens in the championship. I say 6 because Stevens gets fastest lap. It's McGorky first, Stevens second. Frank Hamming is just about going to hang on to third position after his own phenomenal scrap with Mercalukini, which unfortunately we couldn't see much because we were looking at the leaders. Across the line in 5th place was Alexander Agosa, and then it was Amari Watson, Moritz Krop, Damien Kardash, Matthias Ziabinski, Federico Rosso, and Jack Mayer, Davros Musadis, Loic Mounier. Paul August Liners actually hit the wall at a goal coming across the line there. Mounier seems to have properly thumped the wall coming across the line, which you're not supposed to do, but anyway. And Philip Koenig will be P15 there and claim the final points paying position at the end of that one. Missing out on points were Manu Plont, Fabian Bally, Vincent Gut, Remco de Joux, Seba Panasenko persisting around George Whitehouse, Dylan Tarberton, Mike Quint, and Rafael Lukashevsky and Ruben Machete, of course, won't be classified. Looks as if Whitehouse may have disconnected on the last lap as well, because he's coming up as a DNF. But yes, he will still be classified because he enough of the race. Looks as if he actually overheated on that last lap. I was watching the replay there, and yeah, proper like smoke and everything coming out from behind George Whitehouse's car. Might have gone into first gear by mistake, we're hearing from Szymon Frelik. Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Not exactly good for your engine when you do that, but anyway. So that's the lot then, as Mounier spins. That was on the last lap, wasn't it? Because he crashed across the line, but that was after that happened. And McGorgy donutting. He knows this was a good win, and even if the championship is still out of reach, he's going out with a bang and fighting as hard as he can. He's not going down without a fight. There is the order once again. Owen McGorgy gains 6 points over Tom Stevens, so if he finishes 1 point ahead of Stevens in this next race, then the championship stays alive until the next race. But he does have to beat Tom Stevens, otherwise the Nocturne driver wins the championship on the spot. They've actually made it back to Parc Fermé. That's rare. Normally they disconnect before they make it back there, but anyway, they've actually decided to stop in Parc Fermé for once, with one of the TCS off drivers stopping in position 3 where they probably shouldn't be. But anyway, that may be the lot for race 1, but don't go anywhere because we have a second race coming up in just a few minutes time. We're going to go for a break now as you continue to look at the finishing order, but we will be right back, so please also join us when we return in just a few minutes. See you then. Hello everyone, welcome back to the GPVWC and the penultimate round of the 2022 Formula Sprint 1 Championship. We're still here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez and we've just witnessed Owen McGorgy narrowly winning over Tom Stevens in race 1. Race 2 is coming up and I've been updated by my good friend Stephen Lexow here that I was wrong about the points. I was going off with Formula 1 points. Owen actually got 4 more points than Tom Stevens in race 1 rather than the 6 that I said, meaning that he still needs 3 more points in race 2. That is more points than Tom Stevens, so he doesn't just need 3 points in order to keep the championship alive. Therefore, he must beat Tom Stevens no matter what actually happens here, and he can't afford to finish outside of the points of DNF. So that's where we are in the situation. As a round goes one of the TCS off cars. We have a pole sitter drawn now. We have the number 7 that's been drawn from out of the proverbial hat. So we have Moritz Kropp on pole position for this race, and it means that McGorgy and Stevens are going to have to go from 7th and 6th on the grid respectively for this 24-lap race. So Stephen, 24 laps ahead of us, which could potentially decide the championship. I'm hoping it will go on to the final round, just for the excitement of it. And whatever happens anyway, they're going to have to come through the field. How are you feeling about this?
24 laps are pretty long for one set of tires. I'm actually thinking that it could be a 0 versus a 1 stop. So okay. We might actually see some guys starting on the softs and going on to another set of softs. So yeah, that's gonna be quite interesting to see how many guys are on what strategy, because we could see a massive tire drop off in the first race. So 24 laps around here can be quite harsh on the tires.
I think so too. I mean, the last time we saw a 2-stop strategy winning a GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 race, that was back in Hungary when Tom Stevens did it, and he ended up going on to make a pit stop in race 2 as well, and he won that race just the same. So keep your eyes out for that. It's very likely that we will see a pit stop being made in the second race, and it's also likely that we're going to see a split strategy as well, with some of the other drivers making no stops at all. Remember, Lucchini and Hamming, who finished 3rd and 4th in race 1, only made 1 pit stop. So it is absolutely doable on no pit stops here in race 2, but you would have to start on the hard tyre for sure. Okay, let's get it started if we can. The warm-up session, the checkered flag is out, so we're just waiting for someone. Looks as if we're waiting for Mateusz Jabinski to rejoin the server now. Go racing once again, and we've also lost one other person, but I'm not entirely sure who that necessarily is. Mike Quince apparently. Some of the drivers were not particularly happy with each other after race 1, and they've been warned by the race director to sort out their language and be a little more respectful for race 2 and after race 2. But that's the kind of thing that happens in the heat of the moment. Not that I'm trying to excuse it. Whatever the case, some drivers have been warned, and we now prepare for the start of this second race. So Moritz Kropp will be on pole position, and we'll update you of the rest of the order when it actually happens. So while we're waiting, let's talk a little more about the championship. Like I said, Tom Stevens could wrap it up in this race if Owen McGorgy is not able to outscore him by 3 points. And yes, indeed. So it's only 20 points for the win in race 2 here, rather than 21 as it was in race 1. It's 17 points for second rather than 20, and 15 points for third rather than 16. But then the rest of the order is identical in terms of the points. Sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted by the race chat right now, and that of course means that if McGorgy wins, then he keeps the championship alive unless Stevens gets fastest lap and second place. If McGorgy is second, then he would need Stevens to be 4th or lower. If McGorgy is third, he would need Stevens to be fifth or lower, and then etc. etc. Pretty much, you can work that out yourself if you know the point system from fourth place down to 15th. And then anything below 15th place, you get 0 points for. Fastest lap gives you a point, but also only if you finish within the top 15. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Still, plenty of people in the YouTube stream and the YouTube chat. That's good to see. Josh Downard watching along, saying, "Owen, yes, indeed. Owen, of course, has just won race 1." And Ruben Machete saying, well, yeah, unfortunately, didn't go particularly well for Ruben in the end, despite his pace. Luke Mitchell says, no Denahan, no party. Well, we still had a pretty decent party in race 1 there. I know that it would be more interesting with Jake Denahan there as well, trying to take points away from those championship. Anyway, even so, we had a pretty good time of it. Okay, we've now had the driver rejoining the session, and the session has advanced, so we are now getting ready for the start of race 2 here, and preparing to get going for the second time here. And while you're looking at the order, keep in mind, who do you think is going to win this race? Who do you think has the advantage? And what do you think is going to happen between the two championship rivals, Tom Stevens and Owen McGorgy? We'll show you the grid in just a few moments' time. But yeah, Stephen, after seeing race 1 there, how hyped are you for race 2? And what do you think is going to happen with Stevens and McGorgy starting 6th and 7th?
Well, we have seen Owen McGorgy taking the lead from P6 on the grid, so let's see what he can do for P7 on the grid.
True.
So Tom Stevens right in front of him, so that's going to be quite spicy. Stevens knows that he has the points lead and that Owen has to outscore him, so he can be a little bit more aggressive.
Indeed. So let's take a look at the grid order if we can, please, Jim. It's going to be Moritz Kropp on pole position there. You see him leading away in that brightly liveried Nocturne car. Then it's Mario Watson P2, Alexander Ragosa P3, and Mirko Lucchini, the original pole sitter, in P4. Following them, we have Frank Hamming, Tom Stevens, and Owen McGorgy, and then Damien Kardashian. And if they were to finish like this, Tom Stevens would be crowned champion of the FS1 Championship this year. Mateusz Jabinski is P9, then it's Federico Russo P10, Jack Mayer P11, and Stavros Musadis P12. On the next screen, you'll see Loic Mounier, Paul August Lerner, Philip Koenig, and Menno Plon. All 4 of those drivers, I think, would like, well, I mean, obviously they'd like to improve their position, but all 4 of them, I think, can improve their position here. Fabian Bali is P17, then it's Vincent Gutt, Remco de Joux, and Sava Panasenko. And now we're starting to get to the drivers who were badly affected by incidents and things in that first race. Perseus Miram had a spin, George Whitehouse had some incidents, Dylan Tarberton, Rafa Lukashevsky, and then of course Ruben Machete retired due to running into the wall backwards at quite high speed, which tends to do it. So those are your 25 drivers. Could we see the tyre compounds they're starting on as well, please? Because I've noticed that a lot of the drivers at the top of the order are starting on hard tyres, showing that they are intending to do this full thing in one go. Lucchini isn't. Now that's interesting, because he was one of the drivers who went on a one-stop in race 1. So he's presumably going for a 2-stopper. And Stevens and McGorgy have split their strategies. Tom Stevens and Owen McGorgy splitting their strategies there in 6th and 7th position. And Federico Russo also on soft. It's customary of me to make a prediction before race 2. I'm going to say Tom Stevens for the win here, which of course would give him the championship. And as much as, I mean, no offense, Tom, I kind of hope that doesn't happen, because I do want this championship to go down to the final round. Nothing to do with Tom Stevens, of course, or Gorky. Is just as a neutral party. I want to see it go down to the very last round. But anyway, I'm going to say Tom Stevens for the win, and hopefully there's no curse that comes out as a result of that. Watch for the 5 red lights now. When they go out, it will be underway for 24 laps of racing here at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Go, go, go! Watch for Tom Stevens there, already getting up alongside Mercury Lucchini. Moritz Kropp will lead temporarily. Now we head down to turn 1, but who will get it? Because this is a difficult turn 1 to maintain the lead into. They're fanning out now. Look at Alexander Ragosa up the inside, and Watson maintains second position. So they actually stay in a much more familiar order than in race 1. Little bit of a touch further back. It's Watson, so it's Kropp leading, followed by Watson. Who was that running wide? Loic Mooney, I think. Lucchini's crashed and someone's barreling over. That may have been Lucchini himself. And there's a massive pile of cars at the back there. De Jou's involved. Lucchini's upside down. Persis Miran was involved, and I think Machete also lost his front wing. That's the difficulty with starting from the back. Fabian Ballet also without his front wing now. Where are the championship contenders? Well, Stevens is 4th, and where is Magorgi 6th? Sorry, I couldn't see him for a second there. Paul August Lana has also lost his front wing, so I think they've started up with him potentially. We're going to see a replay of that now. There is Moki Lucchini, who runs into the back of the car in front of him, spins around, gets clobbered by, well, there is the rest of the field, and over he goes several times. A bad accident that has resulted in Mirko landing upside down and DNFing from this race. 24 cars remaining at the end of the first lap. So it's Kropp leading from Watson, Ragosa, Stevens and Hamming as they fly single file across the start-finish line. Magorgi's making his move. And this is important. He needs to not get held up on those soft tyres. He's made his move on Hamming. And next up, would you believe it, it's Tom Stevens. Federico Rosso now sparking away, trying to get up into the top 10 as the Multiforce cars go side by side further back. Good stuff at the end of the first lap there, Stephen Lexow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very important.
Look at this!
Owen
There's no
goes
gap
for
there!
the
There's no gap there! He finds it! He forces it! He's up the inside! Goodness me! The two championship leaders rubbing each other, and again they're through the S's, through the chicane. Tom Stevens made it very clear that he did not want Magorgi to go that side of him. Magorgi chose to anyway and forced the issue and was not able to find a way past. That was so ambitious there between the two of them. Goodness me! Can you believe that they've still got their wings attached? Wow!
Yeah, Owen has to overtake right now. His tires will be going off very fast. So I think it will be around 8 laps where he's going to be faster. I think after that, as he dives now and goes over the anti-cut, he has to go by right now. And he knows that. Every corner Tom Stevens is in front of him, the tires are going to lose more grip. But I think it should be very easy right now, as he's just got the top speed.
Don't move late, Tom. Don't move late. There we go. Owen Magorgi is side by side with Tom Stevens. I'm not suggesting that Tom would move late, but in a championship fight this intense, you never know. Magorgi up the inside. Oh, they rub each other again. Stevens is not going to let him through anytime soon. Magorgi is so losing time here, and Frank Hamming's going to pass him on the exit. One of the cars from the team he used to race for, not making it easy for him now. Magorgi maintains 5th. Kropp still in the lead, getting away from Amari gap over a second now, so Watson will presumably not get DRS when DRS is active, which is actually in just a few corners time now. Alexander Ragosa keeping him honest there in 3rd position as the fight of the day goes on behind him. And I think it's all going down the drain here from Owen Magorgi. This feels like watching a sand timer run out as Magorgi is stuck behind Tom Stevens on soft tyres. Here we go towards the end of the lap. And once again, and a big twitch. He's going to get the DRS though. He wouldn't have needed that twitch. Watson does not get the DRS. Ragosa does. That's true. Stevens has it from Ragosa ahead. There's Federico Rosso fighting with Stavros Musadis into turn 1. The top 5 stay in the same order. The top 10 stay in the same order. A little bit of a DRS train forming, although it's still very early in the race.
I think it's already too late for Owen. Well, we have a spinner in the ground.
And that was Loic Mooney. I think it might be too late for Owen too, but he's just got to keep fighting. He does not know what's going to happen with Tom Stevens in this race.
Yeah, and just because Stevens is on hards doesn't mean that he's able to go to the end, because 24 laps are a very long time on those tires. Nobody did 24 laps in the first race. As we can see, the anti-cut. Yep, the sausage.
Would have done well to try to keep it to the left-hand side of the anti-cut after he'd been over it, but tried to come back and looped it around. Into the arena they go now. Still single file as they are, but they're going back onto the straight once again. More slipstreaming inbound.
Yeah, I think with the fighting they have done, the softs might not actually be faster anymore, but he is faster in the straight line. But I guess it won't be enough. Let's see. That would be a dive and a half, while we have a fight for P3 actually, or for P2.
Ragosa gets P2, and there is Amari Watson being forced out wide with a little bit of a touch, and they both get him. They both get Amari Watson, so Watson goes from second down to sixth now as Frank Hamming gets through. What has happened to Amari Watson there? Rubbish. So a couple of corners, and he's backing off. Something really bad's happening to Amari Watson here. Still appears to have his wings or something, but he seems to be falling down the order. It looks as if he wasn't at full speed down the straight there, but anyway, here's a replay of something or other. I presume this is going to be Watson's woes.
Yeah, I think he has a technical issue there.
Watch his inputs. He's going to come off the throttle, isn't he? Not there necessarily, but he's definitely looked to be off the... Oh, look at that. Look how slow he is through there. I don't know what's happening with Amari Watson. It's almost like he can't go full throttle.
But he does.
Anyway, Amari Watson's down to 8th position. On to another lap we go. Surely this is over. Surely this is over from Owen, unless they both have to make a stop. If you are indeed right and Stevens would benefit from a pit stop, then Gorky could still fight with him, but I'm not convinced, because, oh, look at this up the inside. Tom Stevens taking a look at Alexander Ragosa. And that's another opportunity for Owen, because if Stevens messes up an overtake, and here comes McGorky, he may get past him now, but even if he gets past him, it's not over for Stevens. To the outside. Oh, Stevens there quite late. Owen, can he? Oh, he touches him from the rear. They survive. What Owen was trying to do there was get the switchback to try to get back up the inside of him for the hairpin.
Yeah, but Stevens saw it coming, parked it on the apex. I've done that a few times in FS2 as well.
Yeah, same. And it's good racecraft when you can pull that off and not end up being tipped into a spin. Ooh, talking of spinning, Damien Kardash spins. Damien Kardash losing places. Ooh, hard into the wall. What happened there? Looks as if he got tangled up with someone as he was trying to rejoin the road potentially. He's lost his front wing, and he's going to drop out of the points. Yeah, so he spun it on the anti-cut curve, and then it was as he tried to put the power down. Oh, Menu Klont came across in front of him, and that's where they ended up coming together.
Yeah, I think now the softs are definitely down on the mediums, on the hards.
That happened very quickly, didn't it? Ruben Machete now has the fastest for the race, although he's outside of the point, so he would take that one particular point out of circulation if he was to maintain that fastest lap to the end of the race. If there are drivers still pitting for it, in fact, that may have been another reason that Owen went for this strategy, the obligate one stop, because he can get a point for fastest lap as well as the points that he would get for his position. Now there's Kardash's spin, and he holds it straight as he rejoins, but you're going to see him get absolutely clobbered in a second. Bang! Not really anything you can do about that.
That's exactly the same thing that happened to me in Spa in turn 1 when I was spun around.
Yeah. It's always difficult because you're not on your standard lane when you're rejoining, so you can be a little unpredictable, but Damien did all he could, held the car straight and all that. Race continues. Fabian
That's gonna be
Bally
the
now
next
after the race,
try.
I'm afraid.
That's pretty close. The slipstream is strong. He has the top speed.
He's going to go for it.
Could be.
McGorky once again back to the inside. He's going to need to get him on the first apex because the next one is a left-hander, and McGorky takes third. McGorky takes third away, but remember, Stevens still has the strategic advantage here. He still has the harder tyres that will last well into this race. Quantum
And
White
he's got a
has
very
to fight
important.
for
Yeah,
10th
he's got a
place
very
as well, but
important
yeah.
weapon. His teammate up front. His teammate is leading. Moritz Krop could really cost on McGorry in case he gets through.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And it's getting rather likely, actually, because he's now on the back of Ragosa, and it seems that Krop has not been as fast in these last few laps, because Ragosa is now potentially within DRS range of Moritz Krop. Yeah, it does open the DRS there. So we do now have a train for the lead, which includes our championship rivals here.
It could be tactical that Moritz dropped back to give Ragosa the DRS to protect the position 2 from Owen McGorry.
Ooh, that would
Or
be brave, wouldn't it?
maybe Moritz Krop overused his tires because he was 2 seconds in front very early on. And
Indeed.
now it should be a pretty easy move actually for Owen. Well, there's a left car, but everything's fine.
It looked like Fabian Ballet's retirement was a remnant of that first lap incident, because it was as he was repairing his front wing that he decided to DNF from the race, it seems. Vincent Gutt fighting with Metric for P11.
Yeah, but the soft tires from Owen McGorry are holding on better than in race 1, while we have a Vince Gutt for P11. This is on the outside, which doesn't lead to the inside for the next corner.
It's funny how much easier Ragosa made it than Stevens did, but I mean, obviously that was going to happen because Stevens, I mean, his championship literally could depend on that, depending on what happens in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, and maybe Moritz Krop has to look after the tires. Maybe he's used a bit too much for a zero stopper right at the start, and now he has to look after them. As I said, nobody made the tires last 24 laps in the first race. So I guess the hard runners will be quite slow at the end. But the field
Here we go.
spread is not
DRS
that high.
open. McGorgy's got to take the lead here, but Krop's got to defend. They both have absolute reason to fight here. And through goes McGorgy before the corner. Owen McGorgy takes the lead away from Moritz Krop. What will happen in the remainder of the race? Who knows? Fight going on behind. Watson 6th, Sievinski 7th, Mayer 8th. There is Gutt versus Klont. Mayer ran a little wide there actually. Russo is going to be side by side with them for P8. You see them just in front there. That's the good thing about the race still being so close. You can keep an eye on multiple fights at once, because you can see some of them out of your peripheral vision. Muzeda's just got past Quant as well, so both Valley Esports cars deposing of the Multiforce car.
Yeah, but the gap, the field spread is not high due to all that fighting. So he's gonna have to overtake quite a lot of cars at the end, you can see it. The field is still very much together until P13. Then there's a big gap to P14, which ideally he would like to get in. But actually, he can
across the
still...
start-finish line again. It looks as if McGorky's broken out of DRS range of Moritz Krop now. So McGorky has to push. It is still quite likely that it's too late for him, but he's got to push anyway. He's just got to keep trying. Stevens up the inside of Ragosa. Oh, they touch. Oh, they get locked together. Oh, that could have been nasty there. They got locked together heading towards turn 2. And they survive. Alexander Ragosa still in third position.
Yeah. That means that Tom Stevens is feeling the pressure from having behind, otherwise he would have no reason whatsoever to overtake, because he could just save his tires right now to have better tires right at the end, but I think he's a little too afraid of Hamming behind him.
Says McGorgy, Krop, Ragosa, Stevens, Hamming, Watson, Ziobinski, Mayer, Russo, and Whitehouse, the top 10 right now. With all of those drivers pretty close to other drivers around them. Bit of a gap between Russo and Whitehouse in 9th and 10th, but in front of them, it's pretty much a DRS train to the front. Look at that, you see them flying single file through the S's, and into the pits comes Owen McGorgy. Right, this is the crucial point in the race. Krop retakes the lead, but only just. He's only just ahead of Ragosa now. And he's got no reason to... He's got no reason to stay there because he's... Yeah, well, potentially for McGorky, but he also knows that the undercut's important, so he's potentially undercutting whoever he would have otherwise come up behind. Out of the pits he goes. McGorky P12, Clont indeed did come in. Now, McGorky's got some pretty clean air now, but he does have to pass pretty much everyone in front of him if he's to get back to where he was. Behind now. Ragosa made a little mistake there, ran a little wide fighting with Moritz Krop, almost allowed Tom Stevens to get back underneath him. We could end up with a knockdown 1-2 at this rate, with Stevens fighting hard with Alexander Ragosa, who loses out on the DRS now to Moritz Krop ahead of him. He was well and truly in the DRS range.
But I do expect at least one of those guys at the front to hit the cliff at the end with a tire.
Sure, I'm close to it, but will it matter at the end of this?
Oh yeah, if you hit the cliff, especially on the rears, you can lose seconds.
For sure, but would that be more seconds than if you pitted, potentially?
Possible. If you run out of rear tires with 3 laps to go, you could lose up to 3 seconds, 4 seconds per lap.
Yeah.
If you see Russo pitting. So that's one less car, and Whitehouse is pitting and Gut.
Yep, so plenty of drivers, and not just the ones who started. Actually, no, those drivers all did start on softs, didn't they? Yeah, so even more of the drivers we expected to come in have come in now. That puts Owen McGorgy back up into 9th place, and crucially, means that there are drivers who he will no longer have to pass. None of the drivers in front of him are on hard tyres now, so everyone in front of... are on soft tyres now. So all of the drivers ahead of him are going to be actual moves for position in these latter stages of the race. Now I'll keep watching Owen while you watch the lead scrap here, Szymon, because we have 4 drivers absolutely nose to tail there. Meanwhile, Saber Panasenko and Dylan Tarberton went side by side. Tarberton gets out ahead. Good recovery drive considering his DNF in race 1. Goes
saving.
Sorry. I was going to say he's briefly back within DRS range. Oh, and Krop spun into the pit lane. So Moritz Krop, oh, that's a close rejoin. Looped it around, and he's lost the lead. Alexander Ragosa retakes the lead of the race, but Tom Stevens is right there. It's going to be close down towards turn 1. Ragosa leads a lap, whatever happens, but yes, that's gutting for Moritz Krop. And unfortunately, not the first time this series. 3 wide, pretty much further back. Chap Mayer getting held out to dry. Ziobinski's up to 4th. Watson up to 5th. Mayer down to 6th now.
I do expect Stevens to get past Ragosa at the end of the next lap, or at the end of the start-finish straight.
I think so too. He's very close. Frank Hamming also right up there. It's a 3-way fight for the lead as it is. Here's a replay. We're going to have to skip a little further back than that for Krop spin. But yeah, Moritz Krop seems to loop it around all by himself. And unfortunately has thrown away any chance of a podium or anything like that he had today. As I think something's happened to Tarberton maybe. Just lost 2 places in the chicane. Yeah, run very wide. Oh, and Krop's out. As we're watching this, Krop has retired from the race. Ooh, that was close on the rejoin. That really was.
That rejoin could have been quite a big crash.
Krop's had a separate accident by himself. Actually, he's lost it in the S's. There's the battle with Naya. Now here's what happened. Sorry, that's a lag spike, but this is what happened. Looped it around just like Machete in race 1. Slammed into the wall backwards, and out of the race goes Moritz Krop. And Tom Stevens has taken the lead of the race He takes the lead away, puts himself well and truly in championship contention now. And he was already, but our champion-elect looks set to do it in the way.
Watson is out.
Oh, Amari Watson now into the race as well. So that puts McGorgy back up into 6th place. Drama for some of the front runners who seem to be dropping. I don't quite know about like flies because we've only seen 2 of them retire in the last few laps, but even so, that's more than you would expect. And Watson dropped in the same place as Krop's initial instant, actually. He dropped it out of the final corner and ended up on pit entry.
Seems like the tires are already getting to a point where they're getting quite twitchy.
For sure.
And it's only going to increase.
So, 4 retirements now. Watson, Krop, Bally and Lucchini. And 21 drivers remain. Lukashevsky in the pits. only 18 cars on the lead lap as we speak. And here is Frank Hamming now going for 2nd in his attempt to keep up with Tom Stevens and fight for the win. Round the outside. Ooh. And they touch. And Hamming's good save. Very good save. Ragosa now back to the outside. They both get DRS. A good save for Frank Hamming, but he does lose that 2nd position, which he was just about to gain.
Yeah, but that has given a massive lead to Tom Stevens.
Ooh, Panasenko dropping down a little bit. Panasenko there almost lost 2 places. Whitehouse went through. Tarleton had a look. And now Tarleton does. Oh, and there's a little touch on the exit. Panasenko saves it. So Tarleton now up into P10 again. There's that fight.
Goza and Zabinski have lost a further 2 seconds. There must have been something more, I guess. Oh, now the gap is going down quite rapidly again.
Zabinski's up to 3rd. Yeah, so Zabinski's up to 3rd place. How did that happen? I mean, I know that Ragosa and Hamming were holding each other up quite dramatically earlier on in this lap, but I didn't think Zabinski was going to get involved. Hamming and Ragosa, they got locked together on the exit of the hairpin. Hamming touched the wall in that. They are very lucky not to have ended up pointing the wrong direction in all of that. But yeah, Zabinski up to 3rd, but look at that, Hamming coming back at him. Tom Stevens now leads this race by 4 seconds with 7 laps remaining. He's well and truly on his way now.
Oh, McGorgy is coming up to this battle now.
And there is Frank Hamming. And they touch. And he ducks back underneath him. Oh, and they touch again on the entry to the hairpin. Zabinski's run out wide. Hamming to 3rd. Jack Mayer still in there in 5th position. Goodness me, where was this ability in qualifying? Well, here's a replay of the 2 of them getting locked together. That's Frank Hamming and Alexander Ragosa. Hamming sliding about, and that allowed Zabinski to get between them. Little clumsy from the 2 of them. Not just one instance of contact, they just kept coming together. There are the 2 PB racing cars, one of them a lap ahead of the other. And now Hamming is back up into 3rd position, but he will feel that he deserves 2nd.
Well, that's only going to take like 1 more lap for Owen to be up there, I think. Last lap time for him was 22.1. The others fighting. The soft tires are going off already.
He's going to have to pass Jack Mayer first, though. Jack Mayer between Zabinski and Mayer, and McGorgy. Blue flags waving for Ruben Machedi there, who gets out of the way. It's got a hurt for one of the drivers who could have been a lot quicker, had it a lot more competitive, had his race 1 gone better. Vincent Gutt now back up into 10th place ahead of Dylan Tarberton. It's interesting how little you trust the soft tyres, Stephen. You really are not happy with those soft tyres today.
Yeah, just looking at the lap times, the tyres are going off already again.
Indeed.
So I think maybe one stopper with the hearts might have been worth a try. But still, the front runners still seem to be fine on those tires.
That'd have been really bold for a race 2, a one-stopper with a hard tyre compound. Basically treat it like a race 1. You never usually see things like that. You kind of used to see it a bit more. I remember when I first joined GPWC, this kind of thing was a lot more common, and we did used to see sometimes even FS2 races one pit stop. As to the outside there, move going on in the background, but I think that was involving a lapped car. Indeed, it was Mayer. Yeah, just lapping Machete. Oh, what happened there?
Machete got completely squeezed into the grass.
And that was with Lukashevsky, wasn't it?
Yeah. So.
And that was for position. So even though those two were both a lap down, they were both on the same lap as each other.
Yeah, Machete got pushed into the grass there, and if he would have lost control, he would have gone right into Owen McGorry.
Would have been gutting. I mean, the championship is already pretty much over, but if it had ended conclusively like that, that would not have been satisfactory at all. Here are Machete and Lukashevsky, who should really just be having a bit of fun at this point, out of contention for points. Machete went to the inside, Lukashevsky tried to move over while he was already there. And luckily...
Good car control, otherwise he would have gone straight into Owen McGorry.
Very good, but luckily not involving anyone in contention for points here. Lukashevsky in the pits now. And Machete retires, so Machete, I'm afraid... Oh, and I think they've come together again, because Lukashevsky's missing both of his wings, and Machete's just retired from the race. That's a bit suspicious, isn't it? Have they touched again? Well, Lukashevsky spun it... Oh, they did! Lukashevsky spun it in the final corner. And Machete slammed straight into him.
Yep, Frank Hangman and Rigosa are going side by side.
There we go, so it's back on now for P2 between Rigosa, Hamming and Giabinski. Indeed, this is a fight that's been going on this whole time. But now they're together as Mayer tries to fend off Owen McGorky, but it's fruitless because McGorky's already through, so Owen McGorky up into 5th place. Here's the crash that's just occurred with Lukashevsky spinning and being picked up by Ruben Machete. No wonder.
Yeah, it's so difficult when a car spins right in front of you. You have no idea what the other car is going to do. Well, we have the replay for the fight for P2 with Hamming going down the inside on Rigosa.
Russo just passed
keeping it around the outside.
Russo just passed Mercedes into the arena. That's rare. That's for 7th place.
Oh,
yeah, brilliant move. Okay, here's the fight for 2nd. Let's switch back to that if we can. Frank Hamming is side by side with Alexander Rigosa and gets him before the braking zone. So Hamming back up to P2. The gap to lead about 6 seconds, so Tom Stevens clearing off. But yes, Frank Hamming up into P2. Can he break away? Still has the DRS. Ziabinski waiting to pounce. Yellow flags out there somewhere.
Now the question is well, we have a move for P13, Klond and Panasenko, and Klond is able to get the position while Panasenko has to avoid a collision there. Maybe broke a little later than he should have.
Munier's tough day continues because he has now lost his front wing and is in the pits, so only 16 cars will be on the lead lap now.
And there's a front wing laying.
And that is Munier's front wing. We've solved the problem.
And now Owen is able to be right behind them, but even P2 wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's see how much grip he still has left in those tires. He has the top speed, so he won't need the tires in the straight line.
There's Munier coming out the pits behind them. Yeah. He's no longer in contention for points. Although here comes Hamming covered off Rigosa. There's McGorky. Does Ziabinski see him? He does.
Getting his nose in his horn, but now P2 should be fine. And here the DRS should save Ziabinski for this lap at least. That would be a mighty dive bomb, and he's going for it, and they're touching, and that's
dear.
Owen nearly around.
Again, a good save, but sadly,
He's getting
costing him
desperate
even
now.
more time.
He has to do something.
I mean, I don't think it's really going to make much difference, but here we go. There's a replay of what happened with Siobinski as he slipstreamed him down the second DRS straight, and then went for a little bit of a lunge, although a fair one, if me. That's, yeah, he's got far enough ahead there. Far enough along the side, rather. Whatever the case, they touch and he slides sideways.
Yeah, well, we have a really angry Ruben Machete in the chat.
Oh no.
Yep.
And I don't really blame him. He was involved in 2 accidents in that race that were not his fault whatsoever. My apologies, Ruben, that was not your race.
Well, we have Manu Conti and everything.
George Whitehouse go there, up 13 positions in P9.
Yeah, what happened to Manu Conti? He's out.
Ah, yeah. Another big shame. Bit of a race of attrition here, especially compared to race 1. And that seems to have been a wheel disconnection or something, because he has... Looks as if his wheel's suddenly gone over to the left or whatever. It hasn't looked full left though. But it definitely looks like, I don't know, maybe a screen bug, something like that. Whatever the case, Menno Klon out of the race through something technical. Luckily not taking out any other drivers. Paul August Lana into the pits now.
Yeah,
Very late.
Now Szybinski has no DRS in front of him, so that could be the chance that Owen McGorry needed.
Yeah, and Ragosa doesn't appear to have DRS either, so they're all spread out a little.
And they have a lap car behind on fresh tires, and the lap car, yeah, he wants to go for the fastest.
Sorry, Munoz looked as if he was going to run into the back of McGorgy there, didn't he? Come on, play safe, here we go.
And he tried to go for the fastest lap, I think. Do we have a fight for P2, or was that a lap car?
On to the final lap we go now. We do have a little bit of a fight for P2. They're not side by side exactly, but they are close. There's Ragosa, goes to the inside. Now they're side by side. And they just about get away with it. And they're also side by side in the background. McGorgy went for Ziobinski. He's going to go for it again on the exit, on the run down to the chicane. Here comes Ragosa to the inside. Does he go through? I don't think he is. What about McGorgy? McGorgy is going to go through. So Owen McGorgy claims P4. Like I said, still not going down without a fight. Dylan Tarberton losing places on this last lap. Damien Kardash gets P11.
Yeah, and Ragosa is trying everything, but now he gets hit by a bit of dirty air. He has to be very careful of those sausage burps right now. But he kept it alive. And that should be it for him.
So here is Tom Stevens now for the final time. And whatever happens now behind him, if he wins this race, which he just has one more corner left to do, Tom Stevens is the 2022 Formula Sprint 1 champion in terrific style. You can't do much better than winning the championship with a victory. And a fantastic day of racing for Tom Stevens. Frank Hamming is second, then it's Alexander Ragosa, Owen McGorgy. Commiserations, Owen. He gave it his all, despite being held up at the start and losing his chance to win this race as a result of that. Then again, it was his strategy that he went for. He's got to... And there he is, side by side with Tom Stevens for the photo opportunities. But yes, he's got to be gracious in defeat here because he was defeated fairly and squarely today by Tom Stevens. And he has that race 1 victory still to his name. Mateusz Ziobinski P5, then Jack Mayer, Federico Russo, Stavros Musadis, George Whitehouse up 13 positions from his starting spot. Then it was Vincent Gutt, Damien Kardash, although you do see the positions. Dylan Tarberton also up a few places. So Panasenko, Philip Koenig and Paul August Landa, despite the late pit stop, will claim 15th position. There will be no fastest lap point because Ruben Machete DNF'd at the end of that race and he was the driver with the fastest lap. So missing out points were Remco de Jong, Loic Meunier, Perseus Miram, Rafał Lukaszewski, Menno Klont, Ruben Machete, Murray Watson, Moritz Kropp, Fabian Valle, and Kulukini. So those are your drivers. You'll see them scrolling past your screen once again. And there is your 2022 GPWC former Sprint 1 champion. Unofficial, of course, he's still technically just champion-elect, because it is not until the trophies are handed out at GPWC they become the champion. But Tom Stevens, what a drive from someone.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but the fastest lap was taken away from P15, so the point will be given.
Paul Augustlana took it away on the last lap from his teammate. Very good. So Paul Augustlana gets the point for fastest lap there with a very quick 1:21.290. I was going to say though, Tom Stevens, he's still super young. Don't forget. A lot of the people on the GPWC Formula Sprint 1 grid actually are. The top 3 drivers at least in the championship are teenagers, and then you've got a bunch of the others in the top 10 as well, Moritz Kropp, Alexandria, etc. Yeah, Stevens only turned 18 this year, so he was not even a legal adult at the start of the season, and now he has won one of the biggest championships in GPWC in R-Factor 2 in general. The only question is now, what can he go on to do as he becomes more mature, more experienced, more or even better, I expect. I can't really imagine that anything other than the sky is the limit for Tom Stevens now. Right, well, we've been waiting for him. Let's bring him in. Tom Stevens. Tom, are you there? Tom, do you know that you have mathematically wrapped up the 2002 GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 Championship?
Yes, I do, and it feels pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Would you like to expand on that?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to the THR group because, well, I probably wouldn't be able to win a championship like this if I wasn't in a team like that. Like, they're just an absolutely fantastic bunch of guys. What is it? Got to give a big thanks to Toby, Moritz, Tom Ely, Chris, Adam, just everyone. Sorry if I missed anyone. I'm just over the moon right now. It's just amazing.
Absolutely, and so you should be very, very happy with that. First of all, talk us through race 1. You were right on the back of Owen to the end. Were you settling for it necessarily, or were you going for it to try to win it then and there?
I was giving it my 100%, if I'm honest, and I really, really did not think that Owen would be going for the 2-stop as well. And I'm not sure if he converted because he did pit quite late on the first stint, but in the first stint myself, I was a bit angry actually because I thought I wasn't going fast enough because he was keeping up with me. But in the end, he did do the 2-stop, and it was just a mega fight to the finish. Honestly, it was so intense and close. Even though there wasn't much side-by-side action, the racing and the tension, it was definitely there, and it was very intense. So yeah, GG to Owen, a well-deserved victory from him.
Absolutely. Race 2 then, you have a victory to your name, and what a way to wrap up the championship. You had to fight for it, first of all with Owen himself, and then of course you had to come through the field, but you made it and you ended up clearing off at the end. How did you manage that?
Well, I think on the run down to turn 1 on the first lap, it was just pretty much about surviving and picking the right spot because, yeah, this start-finish straight, it can be absolute just chaos. So luckily got through that all right. And then after that, we found out that Owen was on the soft. And that was when I knew I had to hold him up as much as possible. Otherwise, he would have caught back up by the end. It would have been very close, even if he didn't have any traffic. But I just wanted to make sure and have a good fight. And I know it was very on the edge. And yeah, it was a very, very hard fight. But I think we both enjoyed it. And yeah, after that, it got past Ragosa, but really unfortunate from Moritz, who I'm not really sure what happened, but he deserves a lot more than that. He's a fantastic driver, but at the end of it all, came on top with the win, and yeah, what a way to win the title.
What a way to do it. And Tom, after watching your entire season and pretty much your entire GPWC career so I'm honestly, I want to remain impartial, but I am actually quite proud of you. That was a fantastic, fantastic job. What's next for you? What are you gonna do now?
There's only one word, and that's up. That's what I'm aiming for.
But how up? Are you going to SL2 or straight to SL1?
You'll find out soon enough.
Okay, well, I'm really, really excited for it. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Tom Stevens. Stephen, do you have anything to add to your, I guess, semi-namesake Stevens?
Well, first off, congratulations, mate. Very well driven. Just one question, actually. In race 1, on that start, you were 5 right. I don't know if you recognized. What did you think in that moment?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Stephen. And yeah, that race 1 start, I was very nervous for it, even just sitting on the grid, because I knew it was going to be not easy at all. I knew that, was it Lucchini and somebody else in front of me, was it Reuven? They had lower top speed than us. So what I was fully expecting is me and Moritz to be 1 and 2 into turn 1. But just after the lights went out and we started fighting for position, I made the mistake of going for the outside, and I believe the inside was completely the right spot to be, as Owen showed. And on the approach to turn 1, I just had Toby in my ear go, 5 wide, 5 wide, 5 wide. And at that point, I knew just to try and go a bit wide and keep it cautious and make sure I don't lose my wing or anything. But yeah, it was pretty intense, yeah.
Okay, very nice indeed. So good luck for the rest of the season. Enjoy Brazil. You can do whatever you want there. So yeah, just enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Tom, just pit every 3 laps. Go for fastest lap. Have fun, give others a chance.
Yeah, it's nice to have a race without any pressure, but I will still be going 100% for it, definitely.
Okay, congratulations, Tom, and yeah, go and enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a lot of people in the interview room, although unfortunately I won't be able to get through them all as usual. Right, up next, I'm going to bring in our race 1 winner, Owen McGorgy. Owen, we're in a difficult situation here because I have to both congratulate and commiserate you. First of all, how are you feeling overall?
All right. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to win the championship after. I mean, I guess Singapore cemented it for me, but I didn't expect to be able to finish both of these races because my internet's been playing up for the past week, and yeah, it was. I knew the championship was basically over. I had to outscore Tom by 7 points, I think it was. No, 8 points, because I couldn't win on countback. But the first race went well, and then I expected more people to go for the one stop in the second race, and then I got damage from Tom when he blocked me from going for the switchback, and from then on, I had understeer, and it was difficult. It was difficult to pass people, but I don't think I was ever beating Tom. If I did get the move done on him earlier, I could have had the chance to overtake him and give myself a chance at least at the championship, but. He's played it so well this whole season. Obviously, some things may not have gone my way, and I may not have been happy. But obviously, some things didn't go his way as well. But yeah, I've just got to congratulate him. Really, he's done really, really well.
Indeed, that's a very mature way of looking at it, and very right as well. So let's talk about race 1 first of all. What a start! My goodness, from 6th up to the lead. Did you expect that to happen?
I expected that to happen if I qualified P3, but definitely not P6. That was insane. I saw the gap; it was about maybe just over a car's width, and I thought I might as well go for it. This is the only chance I've really got if I wanna do the 2-stop and get ahead of everyone, and it worked. It worked really well, and obviously I got overtaken by Tom. I'm losing a bit of time. I don't really know why. I think he just had a bit more pace. But then in the second stint, I don't know. I gained a bit of time, lost a bit of time, and then gained a bit of time at the end. And then on the hards, I don't know how I caught up to him and overtook him and even kept their position without him even being able to try and get past me.
And indeed, well, you ended up winning that race overall, only just though. Race 2 was a bit harder. What was going through your mind when you decided to go for the soft tires and the one-stop strategy? Did you think more people were going to do it?
I thought I was going to at least get a start near similar to what I got in race 1. I definitely didn't expect to get into the lead, but I thought I'd be in P4, 3 by the end of the straight, but I think I was P6, and it was difficult to get past. I can't really remember much, but yeah, it was difficult to get past. But yeah, the reasoning behind the softs was I thought Tom had already done the 2-stop in race 1, and why wouldn't he go for the 1-stop in race 2 if he probably can't take the softs 15 laps, and no way should he be able to take the hards 24 laps, but he did it. And yeah, I thought other people would do it, but obviously not. I still got P4 in the end after, what was it, P4? I think it was P4.
Yeah, P4.
Yeah, and yeah, I struggled getting past Zubinski, I think it was. And we had a bit of contact, and I lost a second, and yeah, it was tricky on the end because I pushed so hard on the second stint to get a fastest lap, and I invalidated my first lap, which would have been enough for the fastest lap, but I just couldn't repeat that.
It's a shame, but anyway, yeah. Congratulations on your race 1 victory there, and commiserations on not quite wrapping up the championship. But you were still extremely quick today, and I feel like you have a lot to look forward to going forward to Sao Paulo.
Yeah, thanks.
So that was Owen McGorgy there, runner-up in the championship. I think it's nearly confirmed now with Jake Dennehan not making it today. If it's not fully confirmed, that is mathematically, but anyway, unfortunately not quite able to make the championship go on to the final round. Let's speak to Toby Davis, the team boss of Tom Stevens, who of course won the championship today. Toby, you must be so proud.
Absolutely. I'm proud of both Tom and Moritz. They've both been excellent this season. And obviously, Tom has driven exceptionally well for the last 10 rounds. Actually, frankly, he's since Austria, he's had second, first. I mean, he's not been out of the top 5. It's just continuous, and he's just driven on from the midpoint of the season and been by far the best driver, and put the effort in as well. And he fully deserves the championship, and he's such a lovely chap. And I think this will do him the world of good moving forwards in his sim racing career.
I totally agree. I really do. Has he improved since the start of the season, or has he just been consistently the best?
Tom's been very dedicated since he joined us. And I think much in the way he always had the tools in his toolbox. We just needed to give him the right key. And all season he's been working really, really hard to push himself. And I think you can see in his results how he's matured throughout the season, got rid of the small errors, qualified better, and also been open-minded to strategies. And I think we've shown this season as well that we can do things on the strategy and play games and make things work too. And Tom's been very malleable to that as well. And that's a really good trait to have too. He's able to adapt on the fly and frankly has been the best at it all season. Even when it rained at Italy, he still came out of that round with a third and a first. That's the level he's operating at, and it's head and shoulders above the rest, frankly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Tom's been fantastic, and that 1-2 at Hungary as well. It felt a lot like today, and stands out to me as just how good he's been this year, and also it shows what you were saying before about how he's adaptable and works in different situations.
And frankly, those are all traits that will serve him well. And I'm also of the belief that I think we've wrapped up the team's championship 2 with Nocturne.
I think so too. I didn't really want to say anything about that because that's a lot harder to calculate, so I didn't want to call it too soon.
No, but I'm pretty sure we have. So
congratulations.
Both Tom and Moritz have done a great job all season. We've had Tom Ely making setups. I've had support and help from Chris, Luke, Adam. We've had David Carter involved as well. There's been loads of people behind the scenes. Reuven has come in and got a race win for us at Silverstone. So thank you to everyone involved in the group. You guys are all superstars. And next season will be an interesting one for Nocturne and for Tom. And
what's the plan? Spill the beans.
I'm happy to say, well, our plan is to, depending on whether this is viable, but our plan is to move THR up into Super League. Nocturne up into Super League Lights, and the teams will be Moritz, Kropp, and Chris Butcher in Super League Lights, with Tom Stevens alongside Luke Maguire in Super League. That is our tentative plan. We hope that the GPVWC guys allow us to do that, but I think that will be a very strong lineup in Super League next season.
That sounds perfect, and I hope it happens for you. Well done. Congratulations.
Thanks so much. And Caitlin, thank you so much for commentating all season. It's been really great watching back the broadcast. So
it's not over yet. We've got one round to go. Go and enjoy.
We're going to be a nice gold livery, I think, to celebrate.
Yes, you should absolutely do that. Go for it.
Nice one, guys.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, let's bring in Moritz Kropp, actually, who had his time in the sun there, starting on provisional pole for race 2. Moritz, hey, we haven't spoken to you in a while. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
You don't sound convincing right now. Not the way you would have wanted it to end, eh?
Probably the last 8 rounds were not very good for me. I just haven't had the time to do all the laps that the other guys did. Yeah, like for this round also, I started on, I think, Tuesday this week, which is usually pretty late. And yeah, for like, how much practice I got, I think I did pretty well. But just like in race 1, I got screen freezes, which put me down to P19. Managed to get back up to P7, and then in race 2 I just made that mistake, which is comes from not practicing enough. So yeah, that's been the whole issue basically.
Fair enough. Yeah, that would make sense. I'm afraid it's as much as I don't want to rub it in, you certainly haven't had the results that you had at the start of the season. But do you still feel encouraged knowing that you have it in you, and if you do get a chance to get more practice, you can still bring out those same results?
Well, I'm convinced, myself. I know that I can do it. I know that if I do the practice, I'll be winning. So it's just I just wait till I'm done with school and stuff like that. Hence why I'm driving in SL2 next year. I just said to Toby, look, there's no way I'm going to drive for Super League or anything like that if I have that much time, So, yeah, which that has also been a decision made by me. So,
that sounds like a good decision for me. I feel like that'll do you well, and yeah, good decision making there. Race 1 though seemed pretty solid. I mean, P7, you were in the midst of all of the battles and everything, and unfortunately dropped back a bit at the start. But I mean, not bad. You had the pace.
Yeah. I certainly had the pace, and yeah, just these screen freezes were so unfortunate.
Oh yeah, you had the screen freeze, didn't you? I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. P19. I was about to quit. But I continued because we knew the team's championship was on the line. And yeah, I mean, P7, I didn't expect that. I just, with pitted, I got a huge undercut on the group ahead of me.
Wow, great recovery drive. I completely forgotten that.
Yeah. I was quite happy with that.
Fair enough. Anyway, we won't go on much about what happened in race 2 because we all saw it. But anyway, just one word on your team and your teammates wrapping up both championships today. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it certainly does. I like to talk about that a lot more than the races today. Yeah, just incredible work all season long. When I look at what Tom has done this year, it's like incredible. I'm proud to be his teammate. Yeah, it's just, you start practicing and he's immediately up to pace, he's pushing you to the limit.
And-
Yeah.
And you guys seem to have such a strong friendship off track as well. That's always good to see in GPWC.
Yeah. There's always been a lot of respect between us because we knew this is the only way to win the championship. And yeah, this is how it turned out.
Fantastic. Well done, Moritz, and good luck for the final round.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. So that was Moritz Krop there, P7 in race 1, unfortunately crashing out of the lead in race 2. And that is all we've got time for today. So thank you very much to Stephen Lexow. Stephen, this was your first time joining me in the commentary booth today. How did you find it?
Well, it's been my first time actually doing it in English language, so
Yes.
something special. I enjoyed it, so yeah, it's been something special.
I think you did a good job. We do hope, of course, that Ross McIntyre is going to be back for the next round. Obviously, nothing against you, Stephen. You've done a wonderful job. But yeah, I understand that Ross is quite busy nowadays, so it's good to have substitutes coming in and filling in sometimes. Also, thank you to Szymon Frelik for posting this as always, and to all of you guys for watching along and commenting on YouTube and all of that. We will see you in 2 weeks if you want to watch the FS1. That will be from Brazil, where unfortunately we won't have a championship decider due to already being wrapped up. Next week, however, we have what could potentially be a championship decider for GPVWC Super League, where Yannick Bock only needs to score a point or two in order to wrap the championship from his teammate and brother Leon Bock. And you'll be able to see that it's the same day, so it's Thursday next week, starting at 7:30 UK time. So translate that into whatever time zone is yours. Until then, have a good time. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye.